Oh, they can hear me. They just can't hear you. Hi, team. Good to see you all today. Well, while Tom sorts that out, I'll say hello. Hope you're all doing well. Um, Tom was actually just saying that right in the stream beforehand, we were talking about how obviously technology is going to come and strike us down as per usual. And we thought it was going to be me today because I kept getting the notification saying, "Oh, your Wi-Fi is a bit wobbly," and I'm going like, "Shut up, Zoom. Deal with it. That's your job." Um, and instead, what has happened is no, it's still Tom. It's okay. It is 100% still Tom. On OBS having a moment. But hopefully that'll all be resolved very shortly. And in the meantime, I'm just going to jabber at you. So I hope you've all had a good month. It's been so long since the last one of these. We were originally going to do them like every couple of weeks, but then and we give ourselves a little gap to like edit it, get the podcast episodes up, things like that. Um, See which one of our pictures you like the best, do all those little admin bits that take a little bit of time to do around like work and life and all the other projects we've got going on. And then once that was out of the way, me and Tom both had like a busy kind of end of last month. Um, Tom's just got back from Brighton and I've just got back from Italy, so we couldn't we wouldn't have done a particularly great job of streaming from there, I think we both would have been very distracted trying to talk about Pokemon while doing other things. So yeah, we're here now. Very, very looking forward to hanging out with you all again, talking about some more bugs. We have planned out our next episode for, let me see if I can remember when it is. There's an event up on the Facebook. That's definitely going to be more reliable than me. It's going to be Monday the 19th of June, I believe. So at least still this month. So that's, yeah, 2.5 weeks away, which I think is about the gap we wanted to give each other to make sure we could get all of the between episode admin done. But while Tom is sorting out his sound, what I'll do is I'll pop a link in the chat to the Facebook event for that. So if you want to be reminded with like Facebook notifications that it's coming up, that will be there. And you can hit your RSVP button, and then you know where to find us. If you're not already following us on the socials, please do. It means that you'll get updates on when we're going to be live. It means you can vote in the like, drawing competitions that we do. And like once we hit the next kind of milestone for followers, and we're not doing too badly for followers, given we don't do a load of like marketing and zero advertising. Next, when we hit like 500, we're going to do our next giveaway. I'm going to pop a link to our whole link tree in the chat again. And then, I mean, that could be me, Saf, clicking because I'm getting these
Oh,
links.
I think that might have been me. I feel like
Because yeah, Saf said she can hear you clicking about, but I thought I'd just say, potentially me. Can you hear Tom talking now?
uh, I'm
People watching at home?
I'm hoping that is starting to go through.
Yeah. Looks like it's
Fabulous.
working now, so we can start the show.
Right, boom. So yeah,
Yay!
so you've already let the cat out of the bag.
Mm-hmm. Very lovely time. Yeah. I had a beautiful time. No, your sound's gone again. Maybe it was when you switched screens. Because they could hear you when you switched to me being big, and then when you switched back to both of our faces, it's gone.
Right, let's
Yo,
let's let's do this.
everyone watching at home didn't hear that. Tom was happily chatting about Brighton, and then when he
Oh,
found out
what?
he couldn't hear it, he was
What a,
like, "No, what?
it's
Like,
back.
it's back. Is it fixed? It fixed? Okay, we're going to be keeping a close eye on the chat to make sure it stays fixed. Um, Hopefully that'll be it. So yeah, tell us about your trip to Brighton, Tom.
Okay, no. So yeah, so my trip to Brighton was right. was very lovely. I did the Brighton Fringe, did it with Comedy Sports. I saw Ben Hodge and I saw him smashing his show. So, well done to him. And we're going to be doing, myself and Ben are going to be doing a show July the 3rd for Blizzard, which everything's got sorted out.
Tickets for that are now live, but they are currently uh exclusively available to Blizzard patrons because they only went up today. If you are a Blizzard patron, you if you're not, you can sign up. But you can get your access code um via our Patreon, and I've put a Facebook event. So if you want to RSVP, if you're interested, and then when tickets go public, which will be this time next week, pretty much,
Mm,
you can just grab those then. You can be the first to know if you're already in the event.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I reckon that's going to be a wicked show. We've got some incredible previews booked in for this year. And yeah, that one looks like going to be a really special one.
Fab. Yes. It's weird because like myself and Ben have done so much like work together this year, and by chance we both ended up booking this date like independent of each other. So it'd be nice for us
Ah.
to do this pair of previews together, especially because not to give too much away, but Ben actually performs a small role in my show uh,
Ah.
as part of what I've got planned with this kind of this idea of this. So basically, it's going to be it's called the Stand Up Horror Show, and I'm filling in for the acts and the host who have died off stage, and he's going to be part of my kind of crew that's helping not dispose of the body, but dealing with a lot of the shit that's going on backstage. Um, so the reason why I was like, oh, I'll talk about Brighton first. Not that anyone heard it, but the reason why I was like, right, I'll talk about Brighton first was because I think that so the Galar region is based on the UK, like
Yep.
that's like confirmed, and
Paldea is based on Spain.
yes,
Hmm.
and oh, what's the one that's based on France?
And five, Generation Five.
Yeah, that one. That very memorable it was. um, but I am surprised that given that they went down that route from black and white, because it was previously all Japan, but now they've gone down that route. I think that they are. I think it's only a matter of time until they do an Italian Pokemon region.
Yeah, gotta be, gotta be.
Like I could not believe that they wouldn't do the Colosseum as a gym, and yeah,
Yeah,
Leaning Tower of Pisa as a gym. Uh, uh,
yeah.
they probably wouldn't do Vatican City because I think that'd cause too much uproar.
Yeah, I think they might have like an allusion to it. Like, you know how they've got like, Gothitelle, the goth Pokemon. They might have like a nun equivalent that's like Gothitelle's sworn enemy.
Yeah, yeah,
I'd like
that'd be
that.
cool.
Unova. Unova is the French one from Black and White.
Was it Unova? No, Unova's
No,
the
that
one
was no
that's
New
New
York
York.
City, wasn't it? Why is New York a whole city? What? No, why is Unova one city? Why does one city get a whole thing? And um uh like some of the entire countries get only a thing,
Yeah, well,
a
that's what.
region, or meh.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, as nice as Brighton is, I'm not convinced that it would get a whole region.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was quite pleased that
Yeah.
like Manchester got a city in Galar, uh, and London's obviously the main place where the Pokemon League is.
Yeah.
But my hometown, and as far as I'm aware, your hometown did not get its own town.
No, I would not expect Luton to get its own town
Mm,
in Pokemon. It's absolutely not a big enough or interesting enough place. I do feel like the football hooligans quite accurately represented what it's like growing up there, though. So
Mm.
I can't say I didn't feel sufficiently represented.
Oh yeah, I mean they could have had a little town called like Yellowton or something. Um,
No, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that not being a thing. That's fine.
and I felt like Team Yell's headquarters could have definitely been based on Salford if they'd have so wished.
Yeah, I feel like that's fair.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I reckon you definitely get some cool stuff with an Italian one because it's got loads of like these really old little villages which are very cute. I saw the Leaning Tower of Pisa while I was there. Because I flew to Pisa and to and from Pisa and I had to drive 3 hours to get where I was actually going. I saw 1.5 porcupines.
What do you mean one and a
And
half? What does that mean? What? Right. I'm curious
so when
as
I
to
was
the half.
driving, I was driving down these little roads, and one was like nestled really nicely in the grass, and I was like, "Oh, a porcupine." And then a few days later, different bit of road, so hopefully a different porcupine. One was like beheaded and splattered across the center of the road, which was less exciting to see because I was like, "What the fuck is that?" Like, it looks furry, but those stems look like flower stems. Is someone like dropped a scarf and a bunch of flowers out the back of their car, and it's just flapped across the road? And then I realized that the flower stems were porcupine quills. Um, and it was like right where my wheel was going to be. So I had to like pull out so that my car was like half over onto the other side of the road so that it wouldn't get even further smushed on my tires. Because I didn't particularly want to take the rental car back and have them be like, why is there squished porcupine all over it?
Mm,
But I think a porcupine Pokemon would be cool because
yeah.
you've got like you've got like the rodent Pokemon of various regions. The obvious you've got like Rattata there, but then you've also got like ones that are a bit more interesting that grow up a bit more exciting, and you've got like Skuntank
Yeah.
is a skunk. You've got all the fox Pokemon. Um I reckon a porcupine Pokemon is a good kind of next step.
Mm,
There are shitloads of cats. There are shitloads of cats in Italy. They are absolutely everywhere.
yeah.
And one of them decided it it sat on my bag while we were in the bar, and when we had to go, I had to take it off, and it didn't look very happy. And then it followed me home. Well, it followed me back to the car park where we were driving from, and I was like, you can't come with us." So I reckon there would be lots of like, I reckon there'd be lots of cat Pokemon, in an Italian version,
Mm,
and and also wild boar, like LeChonk but chunkier,
yeah.
because they eat a lot of slices of meat,
Mm,
and they like wild boar is like is a delicacy in the sauces as well. Um, and it is actually wild. They do like hunt it. It's not like it's called wild boar, but they actually farm it. Like they actually hunt the wild boar. And we were asking our friend Ali, we're like, where do the wild boar live if they're not farmed? And he just like pointed out into the fields, like, well, there's probably some over there, maybe some over there. And we're like, okay, you don't know where the fucking boar are, do you, Ali? So yeah, I reckon, and also like you'd see a lot of Smoliv
yeah.
around, and I reckon a lot of the other fruit-based Pokemon, and if they were going to introduce new ones, maybe a new fruit-based grape Pokemon, because they are known for their wines,
Mm, yeah.
where I went at least.
Yeah. So I'd go for like I'd go for like I'd give the like main villain team. I'd give them. I know it's a tiny bit stereotypical, but I feel like Game Freak play into that. I'd kind of go down a kind of organized crime kind of Team Rocket Mark II
Yeah,
kind of route for
like a
that.
bit mafia-y.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd go down that route with them. Um, I mean, when you were saying about fruit, it was reminding me of like I feel like they're quite known for like orange groves and stuff like that as well. So you could go for like a citrus based line.
Okay. Like
Um,
you wouldn't have a Flapple, but you'd have a Floringe.
oh on a cherim, and on
Slapples,
an
yeah, a
orange.
cherim would be good. Yeah, yeah. You'd have a cherim.
Yeah.
Um,
And yeah, I think, and I mean, I think I said to you like offline like a couple of weeks ago, like you could do Sicily as the DLC, and that like more or less writes itself.
yeah. I reckon you'd get a lot of really good water type Pokemon. Because like well, Italy's got more edge that's coast than connected to another country. Um, and also like where I went, we were like 5 minutes from hot springs. And I
Mm,
think maybe you'd get like a Cofagrigus,
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah,
Because I saw a lot of the old tombs as well, and they were beautiful. So you get a lot of, I reckon you get a lot of cool rock type Pokemon as well.
yeah,
The ones that have really fun sort of backstories.
yeah. I mean, given your thing about porcupines, I imagine that they would have the odd sand slash there.
And very large bug Pokemon as well. There would be, and I think this is actually a very convenient segue. There would be the biggest Beedrill that you could find
Ah,
in the Italy-inspired region than in any of the other places that are based on places I've been to.
ah,
So I've obviously I live in England. I've been to France and Spain. Um, I haven't been to New York or Japan, so I cannot speak to those regions. But out of the European inspired regions, like England would have like Rabombi and Combi,
mm.
and Italy would have like the fattest Beedrill uh in the land. Like I'd like an Italian region one. Like when you get to your Beedrill Pokedex entry, it to be like a foot taller than the original Pokedex entry for Beedrill.
Yes.
Like there's like it's kind of a regional variant, but kind of not. It's exactly the same, just fucking massive.
Mm. Yeah, like I watched like a documentary. I think they're called German Hornets, aren't they?
Okay.
Mm.
We disturbed some hornets when we were looking at the Etruscan tombs. And like there was this beautiful old tree that had fallen down and like we were looking at the patterns on the trunk because it was really stunning. Um and then one of our friends just like walked very slowly and carefully away. We're like, "Where are you going? We're looking at this cool tree." And she's like, "You're about to disturb a hornet's nest." So we just ran.
Ah, well, do you know what that might link into what one of my drawings is for this week? Well, I'll tell you what, right? I'm gonna go first, and the reason why I'm gonna go first is because I am suspecting that when I flip screens again, the sound's gonna go. I'm gonna have to just very quickly sort the sound. So, what I want for you to do is I'm gonna flip to me being full screen, and I want for you to big up um, my drawing for like 5 seconds. So here we go.
Okay. All right.
Uh, Okie doke. I'm pretty sure that has gone through. I'm pretty sure that the sound is now fixed. Okay.
Yay.
Oh, this is something that I did. Dead quick before I show you my drawings. Somebody bought me some Pokemon stuff for my birthday, who is potentially on stream with me now. So now that I'm full screen, I got bought this fantastic Pearlescence Bulbasaur. As I've mentioned many times in the past, Bulbasaur is my boy. So thank you for that. I don't know if you can see how shiny it is. I feel like maybe
Just about. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
like
definitely looks shinier than a regular Bulbasaur, even on Zoom, which is not the best quality video, and even with the plastic panel reflecting the light a little bit, you can still kind of see he's not a normal Bulbasaur.
yeah.
Have you given him a name?
I've not given him a name yet. He might be called Bulby as a
Colby.
reference to my rubbish naming as a child. But I go back and forth right over whether or not to like ever to take them out of the boxes, because for two reasons. First of all, I'm like let's be honest, for stuff like this particularly, right? There's hundreds of them, I mean, you can take that for
Yeah.
453. It's like me keeping this in a box. I feel is like no one in 100 years, in like 20 years, is gonna be like, I need the pearlescent Bulbasaur. So it's like what am I keeping it in the box for? I might as well have it actually displayed, right? And
Mm.
enjoy it. But the other thing, right, and I know this is ridiculous, is right. I sometimes think of the prospector in Toy Story 2 and how much being
Yeah.
stuck in the box kind of tortured him. So, and
Oh.
if this has any sentience at all, I don't want to be part of its suffering.
Toys need to be played with. That's what we learned from Toy Story.
Very true.
Otherwise, they get bitter and resentful.
And the second one that I got is this badge, which again is a Bulbasaur badge. Oh, I feel like there we go. I feel like it's a bit more in focus now. Very
Yeah.
cool. On the back, like the pins are like Pikachu pins, so they're like in the shape of Pikachu's head. Um, and you can open it up like a locket. I mean, I'm showing you, like Kirsty, you know all this as you
I
bought it.
do.
Um, but yeah, it's got a Venusaur and an Ivysaur on the inside, and because there's like holes in the metal at the front, when you close it, it gives this kind of 3D effect to it.
Yeah.
So I wear that. So I've been wearing that on my like top most days, but one of the little Pikachu backs came out the back. So
Oh.
so I feel like I need to find something that's like a little bit going to be a little bit more secure if it goes back out again,
Yeah.
because otherwise it would have got lost.
Oh no.
So there we go. So there's another one of my little updates, but I shall show you finally my drawing. I think I'm getting better at these drawings personally. Like I was doing this and I mean, I was like struggling for time because of the trip. But I was
Mm-hmm.
like, my God, Sam, you are an absolute artist. So this is what I went for.
Nice.
So
Nice.
so this is an action shot.
Action shot
Yeah,
Weedle.
yeah. Doing poison sting.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of signature move. I went for these because I was like, I remember back when I used to poison things, and I feel like this is it. Like gives like a little skull and crossbone, and a little crying Jigglypuff because it's because why that's exactly what you want. So that's what I have gone for with my drawing for the competition this week.
And also, I know that we're Gen 1 at the moment, but since Fairy type was introduced later on, Poison Sting is super effective against Jigglypuff.
Do you know what? Right, um, I often like once you get past. I sometimes forget what like steel is like super effective against.
Yeah,
So like fairy type, I would even further struggle to remember. Is it super effective against dragon type? If I'm right.
it is super effective against Dragon type.
Um, well, um, if I'd had more time and more knowledge, I might have done four of the skull and crossbones. So I'm fully expecting for you to beat me because I rushed my drawings this week. But I wish to see what what you've got.
You can see mine, but first you have reminded me actually that I have a little update of cute Pokemon things that I've done recently as well. Because for my birthday, my friend Steven got me a little nanoblock Cyndaquil. And I built him. I built
Oh,
him myself.
very cool. Is it
Um,
asleep?
uh, yeah,
Yeah.
it's little teeny tiny Cyndaquil made of tiny little blocks.
Oh.
And I've seen these around, like in the little like on the shelves of game and stuff, and never thought to get one. But I did this, and honestly, I had the best time. Like it took like maybe like less than an hour, but I really liked just not doing something just for the sake of doing it. Like they're not being like um, it not being like a work thing,
Mm.
and like the end goal was just then I'm gonna have a Pokemon. It doesn't really mean anything. It was really nice, just like just taking a bit of time out to do something
Mm,
just for the sake of it being fun. And I really love it. And I have I don't want to get too into it because I could spend a lot of money on this sort of
mm,
shit. But I decided I really liked it. I thought it was a great present, so I'm
yeah.
just gonna pop that. And then I'll show you my Weedle.
Yes.
So I chose not to go with an action shot for Weedle because I felt like its body can only look so actiony, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I remember having like a Weedle Pokemon card and it like hanging out a tree.
Mm.
So I tried to do something like that based on that. So this is what I've got.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
I feel like I did not get the proportions quite right compared to the Pokemon card, but I got roughly there. Because I remember it looking like really cute and curious, and
Mm.
I feel like mine just doesn't have the same amount of character
Mm.
in the face. And it also looks a bit wonky in the middle, but I did it. It's a Pokemon. That'll do.
Yes, I feel like that has is in line with many of the ones that you've done, where that is also a chunky Weedle.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I'm bringing back fat Pokemon as a thing. Like
When you do the Pikachu episode, I feel like the fans will
it's just
not.
gonna be a yellow circle. Not just OG fat Pikachu, brand new extra fat Pikachu.
I mean,
Triple XL Pikachu.
he's won the league now. Like, what else has he got to prove? And now he
Yeah.
get
He can
himself
just sit
gout.
back and like eat whatever he fucking wants for the rest of his life.
Mm. So, do you want to do your Kakuna whilst you're still up on
So,
screen?
sure. So my Kakuna had a similar thought process in that it it doesn't have a great action
Mm.
shot per se. At least I couldn't think of one that I thought I would do justice to. And I sort of remember like Kakuna being a bit more interested in Metapod in that like sometimes he's got these little arms that come out. But then I didn't know how to do it. So I just thought I'll just stop overthinking it and draw a Kakuna. But then as I was doing the outline, I thought he looked like a little guy wearing a tie, so I put him in an office.
Oh,
Um,
very
what
good, very good, very good. Um, you are not going to guess what I did for mine, mate.
did you do? Let's
I
see.
went for, and I've said on these before. Me and you do not converse about what we've done for the drawings.
Yeah. Amazing.
Well, whilst I've still got, I'm glad that we're on the same wavelength there. But it does
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
potentially mean that this episode is going to be about 5 minutes.
5 minutes long, just agreeing with each other the whole time. That's fine. We can agree on stuff.
Mm. Well, there we go. This here is my Beedrill, and I feel like I can talk you through it, right? So
Okay.
I kind of went for the. This is based off of the Pokemon card, but also based off of the anime as well, because I feel like Beedrills in the anime were always this kind of like source of like, if you're not careful, like Beedrills could come out at you at any
They'll
moment.
fuck you up.
Yeah.
You don't want to be allergic to that bad bitch's sting.
Yeah, totally. So what I've done here is I've kind of gone for, again, a sort of action shot in that I've put all these Kakuna dropping out the tree as if something's happened just before, and this Beedrill's like dropped down and is now facing you. So I went with that, and embarrassingly, just as I was about to finish, I remembered that I had not put any wings on it, so that's why you can. It's got particularly see-through wings, because otherwise it just looked like a fucking boxer.
Yeah.
So that's my Beedrill.
I love it. I love it. I'm glad you noticed that before like your time was up as well. Otherwise you're just like, anyway, here's my Beedrill that's had like a nasty kid with a magnifying glass trap it and like rip its wings off.
Yeah, I mean that would definitely make for a dark episode of the anime, would it not? Where
Yeah.
Ash is just like, Brock,
Okay, but like
hold it down.
Yeah, hold it down. Like you can't just like trap it under a glass like you can to torture normal bugs. You'd have to really fight it. And
Yeah.
that thing's got a pretty bad poison sting and like a bunch of other exciting moves. I reckon it'd fuck you up.
Mm.
Mine does not have as much of a story. I thought about doing an action shot and then like didn't. I just did a regular old Beedrill. It just looks fine.
Yeah, it was pretty
Looks
sick.
like it's going to square up to someone, but like I don't think there's anything terribly exciting about it. I think it's just regular.
We'll let the viewers of the podcast decide for us.
If anyone at home has done any drawings of their Pokemon, please do send them in. We
Mm.
love to see them. And if you want them to be on our social channels and if you want them to be voted on, we will pop them up. But if you want to just keep it between us, that's also fine. No pressure to have your stuff shared if you're not comfortable with that, but we love seeing it.
Yeah,
If you want to send it to us privately, and if you do want to show off like your contributions, we are obviously really happy to put those on our channels as well.
mm.
So yeah, look out for those on our social channels over the next week or so,
Yeah,
next few days. And yeah, you can vote on which one you like best.
yeah. So should we go into Weedle?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Right, Weedle. I personally think Weedle is cooler than Caterpie.
I agree. I do. So I like Caterpie. I think Caterpie has the character because of the anime, because of being in Ash's team. But I think when you're playing the game,
Mm.
Weedle is more useful in that beginning bit because it has poison sting. Like I think when you encounter a Caterpie in that beginning bit, you're like, okay, I can just hit this. It's going to tackle and string shot. That's nothing.
Mm.
Weedle will poison you and it'll fuck you up.
Yeah,
And I feel like Weedle is more of a threat. And when you're at that very low level, having a Pokemon with a poison attack can come in quite handy.
yeah,
Even if it is, obviously weak against Brock Gym, weak against all of the bird flying types that you find, but still, it is a better ally at that early stage of the game, given the options that you have. I agree. I think Weedle is cooler than Caterpie.
yeah. I think, and I think even like design wise, like mechanics wise, I think it's slightly better. Because I mean, as you know, I often go for the grass starter. One of the reasons why I like the grass
Yeah.
starters is even as a kid, I used to like draining. I used to like draining moves. So like
Yeah.
once Bulbasaur gets like Leech Seed, it's like right. This is like quite a cool kind of like mechanic. Even though I wasn't thinking at
Yeah.
the time because I was too young, but I liked the idea of it's like slowly draining. And I've often said that if I was a gym leader, like in real life, I'd probably aim to be a poison gym leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
That
think
sounds cool.
yeah, and I think part of that is because I like the kind of draining effects of. And Weedle will be the first Pokemon that you come across with that for you on your team and being used against you.
Yeah.
And and I think the other thing that makes it a bit cooler than Caterpie is even before the anime, it's got that big stinger on its head.
Yeah. The stinger is cool.
Mm.
The stinger is definitely cool. I think like Caterpie has a very cute design for a bug, which again, I think, like I said in the Caterpie episode, made it a smart choice for joining Ash's team, where Misty could be creeped out by it because bug in general, and but like it was still cute enough, um, that kids wouldn't be threatened by it, kids watching. And I think Weedle is also cute, but I think the stinger makes it a bit more threatening. So if you're like a bit of an edgy kid, you like Weedle a bit more.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah,
Um,
I definitely see where you're coming from.
I mean, and believe me, I was the edgiest of the kids. People used to look at me with my in my blue velour Puma tracksuit. I'd be like, that there's an edgy child.
Nice.
Um,
I can imagine you.
yeah.
I bet you were adorable.
I don't know. Well, I mean, I don't think I'd have agreed with you at the time. I used to wear
No,
pumpers.
Yeah, you don't want to look adorable, but I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
Like no child wants to look cute. Children want to look cool and grown up, but they don't by dint of the fact that they're a child.
Well, I'm just trying to think of what other things I would have wore that that I'd have been like. Oh yeah, I'm a cool child. I used to have Pokemon clothes back when I was a child. I don't know if you had like Pokemon
Oh,
clothes.
back when you were a child, did you?
Yeah. And I mean, although it's not Pokemon, I'm wearing a Spider-Man t-shirt. I'm not. It's not as a. Um, but I remember I used to have this shirt, and it was Ash Ketchum, right? Like going to throw a Pokeball from behind, and it was like it was majority of his back, and he was like going to throw a Pokeball.
hmm
Uh, and I was like, oh, this looks really cool. And the last day I ever wore it was when another kid was like, it looks like Ash is wiping his ass.
Oh
And yeah, the shirt was ruined for me from that day forth.
no, that's so mean.
Well,
Children are such bullies.
yeah, that's kids for
Every
you.
every time I every time I hear a story about children being little cunts, I think of that bit from The Simpsons where Marge goes, "Oh, kids can be so cruel," and Bart goes, "We can? Thanks, Mum," and he runs out and punches Lisa. Like, I think that's one of my favorite jokes ever. And every time I think about children being little shits, it plays in my head. And no matter how sad the story is, I always cheer up a little bit.
Mm. I love Simpsons. I mean, if you wanted, I'd also be happy for us to do a Simpsons-based podcast at some point.
Once we've finished all the Pokemon, we'll start doing. Would we do Simpsons characters or Simpsons episodes?
I think Simpsons episodes. You could call it something like "Simping for the Simpsons."
Hey,
Look at that! All that
I
improv
reckon.
training.
If there were if people wanted it, like we'd never be wanting for something to do, would we?
If you want it, you get on that Patreon and you help us do these massive multi-year projects that we keep on coming up with ideas for, so that we're not.
I think this one is going to last us our entire life.
Well,
Our entire life. The
I would
only
be
way
very
it
happy.
wouldn't is if we get enough Patreon money to do it full time and we can do a podcast a day.
Mm,
And then, because we have nothing else to do, because it's paying both of our living
mm.
expenses and a team of editors, uh, all of the admin is done, and I think it would still take us up to retirement.
You know, I'd be happy. I'd be happy to be in the
Oh
post office
yeah, yeah. There are
collecting a
worse things to
pension.
do with your time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely worse ways to live your life.
Yeah. But I imagine that as we got into our 50s and 60s, just being like, in I don't know what you'd call a Pokemon in 20 years time. Like, I don't know. Give
I
me.
really hope if we did end up in our 60s doing this show and we were talking about the new Pokemon that are coming out as we age, I really hope that like our responses are like, oh, this is a really cool and interesting idea for a Pokemon. Or if we're like, I don't love this, but this is how I would like it to be better. I would like that to be our approach. I hope we never get to be any of those fucking like like they're not even boomers because they're our age. Like the
Mm.
only people who play Pokemon are our age. But like those like Pokemon boomers who are like, oh, Gen 1 was better, and it's like it had one that was just eggs. No, it wasn't. Like you were just a child. You didn't care that it wasn't very imaginative. Like calm your tits, it's not for
Mm.
you.
Yeah. Well,
Like
I mean
it
that happens a lot. Like I called someone on it like the other week where it wasn't Pokemon, but they were like going. They were going, music was much better back in my day, and I was like, no,
like
all it is
no.
that it's not advertised to you anymore.
Yeah, it's not for you. Like back when you were a teenager and music is marketed at teenagers, you connected with the music that was happening, and so you thought it was good. Now, music is still marketed at teenagers. That's why like so many music videos are like set in schools. Like now that I'm an adult, that feels very predatory and I don't like it.
Mm.
When I was a kid, I was just like, yeah, this song really gets me, even though it's like blatantly written by five studio execs who didn't give a shit and just wanted to like do cocaine and leave.
Mm. Let's carry on chatting about our franchise about a 10-year-old that leaves
Weedles.
home and lives in the forest.
Mm. Anyway, we like Weedle. It's cool. It's cooler
Yeah,
than Caterpie.
yeah.
Its
Um,
poison sting is really useful. Um, and I
I
think, yeah,
I
I
think
like
it's
Weedle.
I think its nose looks a bit like a Diglett.
It does. Although I feel like this is something that's going to come up. And I don't think I feel this is it doesn't apply to obviously like the Venonat Butterfree similarity because I think that was a case of a last minute changeover. But I think there are going to be some things that come up in the first generation in particular where we go, oh, those Pokemon look really similar. Is there a relation somewhere?
Mm,
And the relation is just going to be they were limited by what they could do in a sprite on a Game Boy Color.
mm,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Um, and I think this is one of those where, like, well, what kind of nose can we give it? It needs to be distinctly different from Caterpie, but there's only so many worms that like this type of bug, only so many noses that this type of bug could possibly have.
mm,
And having a flat, round face, I think, wouldn't have suited it.
yeah,
And I think that's kind of how it ended up with the Diglett nose.
yes. Well, the thing I was going to bring up was because I agree with you, and I think that if they were to bring it in a later generation, I think that they would have done a similar thing to like Diglett Wiglet. Like they'd have, if they'd have made them
Yeah.
look that similar, they'd have likely have given them some some much more clear connection. Um,
Yeah.
but yes, I agree. The reason why they didn't is because it was because of the limitations.
Which is fair. Like, I can't fault that. And I feel like it's not, I feel they also have distinctly different enough, like, backstories
Mm,
and, like, different characteristics, typings, all of the other features of them are comfortably different enough that I'm just like, oh, they've copied this other Pokemon from earlier in the game.
yeah.
Um,
Because one of
yeah.
the things that I think I forget about Pokemon Red and Blue is so my first Game Boy was a Game Boy Color, and Game Boy and Pokemon Red and Blue were originally designed for the green screen, uh, Game Boy,
Game
and
Boy, just
yeah,
original Game Boy.
and I remember. So the last time I played Pokemon Red and Blue was a couple of years ago on the 3DS when it got re-released on the 3DS store. And I remember,
Okay.
and they did it in black and white and green and like and the green and black, and I was playing it just going, this here is like so much worse than the Game Boy Color, what the Game Boy Color did for the graphics. Um, so yeah, so there would have been whole loads of people who would have been playing as Weedle, on an original Game Boy, and they'd have been looking for any opportunity to make these different. And yeah, I think that you're right. They were like, we can't just have it be no faced, so just stick a big red nose on it and be done with it.
I think that's cute. I think it works.
Mm,
Like, I'm fine with that. I don't have a problem. I think yeah, I think it does look cute, and I think in a way that I didn't manage to capture in my drawing, I think like, the Pokemon card I had in mind was also a really cute Weedle, and I think it is a testament to people who can draw much better than me that they can put character and personality and feeling and emotion into such a simple face.
mm,
Especially like I know a lot of people put effort into doing like much better fan art now than I can manage, or can fit into 10 minutes even if I could
mm,
draw that well. Um, but I think it's also kind of a testament to the quality of animation in the 90s that like we remember these characters so vividly, where animation was nowhere near as advanced as it is now. Um, and I think, and also like fun fact, the newer generations of Pokemon have some of the advanced animation software in the world. Um,
oh, I
because
didn't know that.
yeah, so basically during the Black and White series, the animation style went down the fucking toilet. Like
Mm,
they just stopped giving a shit. And they were like, well, this is just crap for children, so we're not gonna put that much effort into it.
yeah.
The script writing was poor. The animation was poor and frequently repeated frames. So every time Ash threw a Pokeball, they just blanked out the background of wherever he was standing and used the same animation rather than like animating it each time he did it.
Mm,
So even if he was like wearing different clothes or didn't have his hat on or something like that, it would be the same animation and you could tell it was really lazy. And then Pokemon Origins came out on YouTube, which was like a fan project,
Mm,
which told the story of Red and Blue, but in like a bit like and as it followed the games
mm,
with a more kind of mature look at it.
mm.
And it was amazing. If you haven't watched it, watch Pokemon Origins. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And then uh because that was so popular, the studio realized actually there's a massive market that we're alienating by making the animation so
Mm,
poor. And they sacked their entire animation team. They got in new people. They reached out to the people at Pokemon Origins and were like, "Do you want to be involved?" And they um got all new script writers and everything, and they invested in like cutting edge animation technology that didn't exist anywhere else to make the animation like fluid and smoother,
mm,
which is why I think it was the Kalos region that this was introduced in, so a little while ago now, and they have stayed working really hard to be like the best animation they can. And I think if you watch the more recent seasons, you can tell.
mm.
But like going back to my original point was that like they did a lot with very simple designs in the first generation. And I think it is a credit to the effort they were putting in at the time. And I think we're gonna kind of revisit this conversation later on when we get to, the much later generations
Mm.
where we sort of say about kind of Gen 4, Gen 5 Pokemon, oh, it's a bit uncomfortable that this Pokemon didn't get
Mm.
what it deserved because it was let down by sloppy writing and poor animation quality. And then in the later seasons, we are gonna see kind of a revival of people's connections to the Pokemon that are in the show because it shot straight back up in quality.
Mm.
Yeah.
Ah, well, there you go. I never knew that. Uh, do you think that there's a connection between that and the fact that they've decided to reboot it?
No, because I think it was a few seasons ago. It was quite a few seasons ago now. That they brought in the um new animation style. And I think that they are maintaining quality, but I genuinely think like people are getting a little bit silly with the way that they go like, oh, Ash is like 30 years old, 10-year old with 25 years experience, all this stuff. And having I think now the world is a bit more progressive than it
Yeah.
was in the 90s, having like, the two boys and a girl team is not the one anymore. Because that was very common in the 90s. You have your main boy, you'd have his best friend boy, and you'd have the girl that there was maybe some romantic chemistry with. And Pokemon in particular, like, switched out the girl each time, and it's just like, why aren't we connecting with any female character?
Mm.
And I think they kind of want to break the mold a little bit, move away from that, and just introduce new characters because it was getting a little bit tiresome for like people who've been watching it for 30 years, even though it is aimed at children, seeing the main character like never get to his goal.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that I don't like about sort of sitcoms, in that in order for the sitcom to stay on and stay funny, the characters have to not hit their targets.
Yeah.
They have like as soon as they reach their goal, the story's over. Like
Yeah.
there's a story arc that's completed, and you have to introduce something else. Um, and I think that's why things like Always Sunny work because it is satisfying when they don't achieve their goals because they're bad people.
Yeah.
But when you get a main character that you like, which is arguably what you need to make a story work, otherwise, again, like Always Sunny, if you don't like them, they have to be very compelling and interesting.
Mm.
And when you get a main character that you like, seeing them consistently not hit their goals is really disappointing. It makes you not like the show anymore.
Yeah.
And like I've seen like Reddit threads of grown ass adults saying, "Oh, I'm really disappointed that Ash Ketchum hasn't won a league yet." And like the guy who brought out all of the legendaries was like, "Oh, Pikachu only lost. He was up against five legendaries. How did this random trainer get a bunch of legendary Pokemon?" And yeah, it's a plot device to keep Ash the main character.
Mm.
Um, But yeah, there's only so long they could have got away with it.
Yeah,
And I think it's not a bad call to bring in a new character, start over again, um, maybe introduce a better kind of system for switching out characters for other ones so that um it's not another 30 years and then we've got the next generation of people going like, oh, why can't the character win for once? Meh,"
yeah,
you know?
yeah. Well, I mean, they missed out an opportunity. They missed out the opportunity to do that when they swapped over from red and blue to gold. You know, um,
Yeah.
like that was the opportunity to kind of swap it around if they so chose to, and then because they didn't, I think that they had then set the precedent. And
Yeah.
now the fact that they're changing it, and now it feels odd, much more odd than it might have doing it back then. Uh,
Yeah. I do get that, but like um it had to happen sooner or later.
yeah,
Like they're already on the second voice actor. And I think especially when you have a character with quite a husky voice, you notice them not like you notice them start to struggle.
yeah,
Like if you've seen new episodes of The Simpsons, like the poor actress doing Marge's voice just sounds like she's in so much pain
yeah, yes,
doing that like scratchy voice. Um, and I feel like if they they have some actors do kind of a voice, I don't want to say closer to their own because obviously they're going to be adults playing children, but if they um just do something a little bit softer on the vocal cords, I think yeah, there's a bit more longevity. Not that there needs more longevity because obviously um you know this has lasted quite some time.
So my question to you is, uh, I feel like I know what the answer's going to be. Have you had a Weedle on your team?
Um, yeah, I'm sure I have. I don't really remember a very vivid time where like Weedle was so good I kept it on for very long. But I did do the same as I did with Caterpie every single time I encountered a Weedle, I'd get it. I would evolve it to full so I could like put it in the box and not worry about it. I've checked off three Pokemon from my Pokedex before I carry on.
Yeah,
And that was okay. I didn't dislike Weedle ever. And it definitely came in handy a couple of times having that poison sting, but I didn't really keep it for very long because I got uh poison sting wasn't hugely effective as far as poison type moves go. So if I could swap it out for like if I had a Bulbasaur, I just didn't waste my time with a Weedle.
yeah,
If I could swap it out for like an Oddish or something, I usually would
yeah,
just because that's a better poison type Pokemon.
yeah. Well, I
Better poison type moves.
yeah, I feel like Weedle's got a couple of things moving against going against it for me. So first of all, like I have a preference for the grass starter, and in
Yeah.
red and blue, it's grass poison type. So
Yeah.
so I'm very likely to swap it out at that point. Um, I, this might just be my kind of misremembering of it. Like I might be wrong about this because I've not got like the stats like in front of me, but I feel like Butterfree is ultimately slightly more effective than Beedrill. Um, like I feel like Butterfree feels a tiny bit stronger, like long term, and it's got the kind of sleep powder and all that kind of stuff in
Yeah.
there as well. So I feel like once I have the Beedrill and once the kind of um, oh, this is a cool new Pokemon, I'm gonna play about with it, wore off, I was much more
Yeah.
likely to swap it out quicker than I would um, a Butterfree, and
Yeah.
you know, I don't think you'd probably come across someone who would swap out their starter for a Beedrill.
For a Beedrill,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
I think
oh god,
I think you're not wrong with that one because like Beedrill being part poison type means he gets like stab on the poison moves.
yeah,
But as we said in like the Butterfree episode before, Butterfree is like a better all rounder. and it also covers poison. If you're just trying to poison something, Butterfree has poison powder, doesn't even need stab. Like
Yeah,
it's perfectly good with poison powder. And then it has all those other good moves.
yeah. The other thing that I think it's got going against it as well is I can't remember which version of it that this is in. It might be yellow. It might be blue. But if you go up to Viridian City and then you can go left onto Route 17, I think it is, and you can catch a Nidoran down there. Um, and again,
Which also has poison sting. So you've got a poison type Pokemon with another better move pool that has
mm,
yeah, yeah, you're not wrong.
so yeah, so that's so like I say, I feel like everybody's got probably had a Weedle, but they've probably it's very unlikely that I imagine that anyone would consider themselves a Beedrill specialist.
Yeah. I would be interesting to see uh how popular Beedrill is in competitive play.
Oh, well. I mean, on that note,
We'll get there.
yeah,
We'll get
we're
there.
jumping ahead, but um, it does similar to Butterfree have like mega revolutions and stuff like that. So they have
Yes, it
presumably,
does.
but it would not surprise me. And again, we'll get there. That is partly due to the popularity of it in the anime.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would agree with that. I think that sounds like a fair assumption.
Right, should we go into? I'll get the Pokedex entries up.
Do it.
Right, let's do this. And I'm just going to. Okie doke. So, we have got the Dex entries here. Um, right. Often found in forests eating leaves, it has a sharp, venomous stinger on its head. What I appreciate about this, but because we've looked at it from. Because we've been going through them now, there's none of this dick swinging yet that
Yeah.
I feel like we got with Caterpie, where it was like the leaves are bigger than itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Such a very hungry caterpillar.
But let's
Um,
see where it goes.
I mean, so Yellow says beware of the sharp stinger on its head, but sharp isn't like again, it's not dick swinging yet. It's like it's just it is sharp, which is factual and it's a statement.
Mm.
It's not like, oh, it's so sharp it will like cut through your entire rib cage or whatever bullshit they would come up.
Well, I mean, let's see what Stadium Professor's got going on it. I've just read what the stadium. Oh, I know what I'm going to say now, right? A common sight in forests and grassy areas has a poison stinger on its head that may be used if you step on it. Which to me says, why has the Stadium Professor been stepping on him? like this is a theme. This is a theme for Stadium Professor, isn't it? He's
Stadium Professor just harasses Pokemon.
he's cracking open metapods. He's stamping on Weedles. He's the right dick. He's just going. Oh, do you think that the stinger can get through your shoe? Well, there's only one way to find out, isn't there? Uh, right.
So hang on. So I've had a little browse, and all of Generation Two, so Gold, Silver, Crystal, Stadium Two, are pretty similar. Poison Sting are very powerful. Brightly colored body to one off enemies. Interesting. That makes sense. That fits with the animal kingdom that we know.
Yeah.
Attacks using a poison barb on its head can usually be found under leaves. Makes sense. Barb on its head secretes a strong poison. Uses it to protect itself. Again, consistently making sense.
Yeah.
And then you get to Generation Three,
Yeah. Go
and
on.
it changes it up. It's no longer about its poison, it's about its sense of smell. So it
Oh.
says Weedle has an extremely acute sense of smell. It is capable of distinguishing its favorite kind of leaves from those it dislikes. This is my favorite bit. Just by sniffing with its big red proboscis brackets nose. And I love how like when I think proboscis, I think of like a mosquito long pointy nose.
Mm,
But I do know that it means nose,
mm.
and I, I love that. Um, I love that they've specified nose, but they still wanted to include the word proboscis. And I feel like this is kind of a bit of a different kind of dick swinging. It's like my vocabulary dick swinging. It's like, excuse me, I know a long word for nose. I'm not just going to write nose, but I'm going to assume you're
Mm,
too thick to know what a proboscis is. So I'm going to put in brackets nose. And
yes.
also, I feel like, like regardless of whether you think this is a professor getting salty with another professor he thinks is thick,
Mm,
or if you think this is Nintendo being a bit patronizing to the children that are going to be playing this game and reading it, Weedle only has one big red thing on its body,
it's true.
and also it's like it says that this is an appendage that it smells with. I think, given those clues, we can assume that proboscis means nose.
Mm. And we also know that that Caterpie stinks, so no wonder there's like a rivalry going on.
I would absolutely fucking love it if one of these things was Weedle has a really acute sense of smell. It fucking hates Stinky Caterpie. They are mortal enemies, and Weedle's just chase Caterpie around with its poison sting to because it keeps stinking up the forest.
Yeah, and it's just going. It's going. It's like Romeo and Juliet, isn't it? It's like why do the Montagues and the Capulets not like each other? Because the Capulets
Oh,
fucking stink.
let's fucking stink. I'd love it if like a Weedle was born without a sense of smell and fell in love with a Caterpie, and then you had like a whole Romeo and Juliet thing go on there, and all of the Butterfrees were like, "No, that one's family keeps poisoning us," and the Beedrills are like, "No, that one stinks." They run away to be together.
uh,
Same tragic ending. Like Weedle fakes its death, and then Caterpie poison stings itself on Weedle's head. And then Weedle wakes up to find Caterpie murdered with its own poison.
mhm. I mean that's. I mean I wouldn't put it past Stadium Professor to put something like that in his entry. Uh, just like
Stadium Professor like did that and then got in trouble, and that's why he doesn't run the Pokemon Theatre Company anymore.
yeah, that's the reason why there is not a Stadium 3 because Stadium Professor got binned. It was they were like this is like a Pokemon version of the movie franchise Saw. Just him just hello Weedle, I want to play a game. Um,
um, so we got more stuff about being in forests, eating leaves, having a stinger. We know.
uh,
Diamond and Pearl says it eats its weight in leaves every day.
oh, we're dick swinging now. How much does it weigh?
I
I just want to see how much it weighs.
let's have a look. Let's have a
Fucking
look.
hell,
I
7.1
desperately
pounds.
I could eat 7.1 pounds of leaves probably.
Uh,
But like I would love to be one of these animals that eats its own weight in food and is just fine, doesn't like gain its own weight in food. Where do I get this metabolism, please?
well, you need to develop your proboscis in brackets nose.
And then I can sniff out the food that I can
Mm,
eat my own weight of and won't get like insanely unhealthy.
yeah. Uh, Tell you what, right?
Um,
I've noticed that it's mentioned a number of times that the 2-inch poison barb, and I wonder how
yeah.
much they were like. If we'd not mentioned how long the poison barb was, how much we could have been like. Its poison barb is as long as the mast of the Eiffel Tower when it is upset.
That would be if you could get a Gigantamax Weedle.
Mm.
Gigantamax Weedle the size of the Eiffel Tower with a massive poison barb.
Well,
Uh,
we've got here black and white. We're back to eating its waiting leaves,
oh,
and
you
then
just wait and leaves.
fends off attackers, which we can. I'd love it if it was fends its way. It fends off attackers in brackets. Stadium Professor.
It fends off the fucking stadium professor that keeps harassing it.
Yeah, whoever wrote the entries for Stadium, they were obviously fuming. Just every day they had to
Good.
come in. Oh, we got X and Y. It's got poison stinger is very powerful. Which how powerful?
Very, very powerful. I think the rest of them just kind of repeat themselves. Eats his weight in leaves, got a sharp stinger, hides
Yeah.
in grass and bushes, sniffed its big red proboscis.
Yeah. I'll tell you what,
Cool.
just before we move on, do you think that the proboscis is in there because is that the generation that Probopass comes in?
The first one it was in was, yes, Ruby and Sapphire.
So yeah, so maybe they were like going, right,
They're
any
like, this is
reference
why
to a
it's called.
nose, we need to fucking put
Yeah.
proboscis in here.
We need to let people know why Probopass is called Probopass. I like it when they're a bit more subtle than that, but then it's Pokemon and they're never fucking subtle, so
Nah. Right, well, should we move on to the Smogon entries?
let's have a look at a Smogon entry.
Okie doke. Wait, got that up here. Okie doke. So there they are. Uh, Probably comes as no surprise that they are all in the red.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Pokemon that you have to be able to defeat when you are, um, you know, all of your Pokemon are fucking level 5 still.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, so it doesn't surprise me at all.
yeah. I do think it looks
Uh,
very cute there, having its little dance on Smogon.
yeah, I do like the animation for it. It's very, I love his
Yeah.
little tail wag. Yeah.
I tell you what, I feel like if they were to like, if that was in like, how many animals have their poison stinger on their head versus their tail?
I mean, Weedle has both.
Oh, do they have both?
Yeah.
Well, no.
Yeah, because if you look at its little flappy tail, it's got both.
But it's always going on about the stinger on its head. Never
I guess the
mentions the
stinger
one
on
on
its
its.
head, the stinger on its head, I guess it's a primary stinger, and the stinger on its tail is it's like secondary stinger.
I feel like we've sounded like the announcers to Robot Wars. Like, I don't know if you ever used to
Yeah.
watch that back in the day, and they'd be like, "The Hypnodisc has got a primary disc and a secondary disc." Just to
Yeah.
justify how badass ultimately a worm is.
Yeah.
Um, so we can see there it's in the little cup, and the little cups for people for Pokemon that are not evolved. But I feel like if you had a Weedle, you would very likely at least
Yeah.
go up to a
Because those
Kakuna.
Yeah, those poison type moves I reckon would come in pretty handy because Little Cup you get a lot of Pokemon that you don't have great moves yet.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I reckon having a poison type move so early on is absolutely to its benefit. I reckon it wouldn't be too bad.
yes. But as we've mentioned, unfortunately, I think it is. I think it does have various other options that I think it would get dropped out for quickly,
Yeah,
even by its own evolution.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because like Kakuna, I guess if you raise it from a Weedle, it retains I guess all of the moves it had as a Weedle, so it still has that poison move, but it's got better defense.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yeah. And its speed would, I mean, we can say that its speed is its highest attribute, which I'm actually surprised at because I don't consider it a particularly speedy Pokemon. But,
No. I guess it's gotta be to escape, the Pidgey's trying to eat it and the Caterpie's stinking at its house.
well, I mean, yeah, you've got to get away from that real quick. Um, okay, so should we give it our Trubbish rating?
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to give this. Oh, I'm probably going to give it a 4.
Hmm. I was also thinking four
Uh,
because I think it's cute, it's cool, but I don't have too many memories of it from the show. I have too many memories of it from um the game.
mm,
It's there. It's a good addition to like the world and the environment, but like eh.
yeah,
If I
I
don't see a Weedle, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I really want to see a Weedle in this game.
yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm probably going to say this for the. I feel like I'm going to repeat this the next 2 times, but I feel like it's to its detriment. Beedrill is the star of this line, and I feel like it overshadows the other two like so massively in a way
Definitely.
in a way that I feel like we've not come across yet before, you know, in this chronological order. But I feel like both Weedle and Kakuna are so overshadowed by Beedrill that it's like
Yeah.
if they decided to make Beedrill just its own, you know, its own solo Pokemon, I don't think that anyone would be that bothered about. Oh, but we're losing
Yeah.
Weedle and Kakuna to get that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's a very fair point.
Right, should we head on into the break?
Yeah, let's have a little break. It's getting quite dark in my room, so I am going to turn the light on. And I figured while I'm up, I'll probably get a cup of tea.
All
So if you would
right.
like to monologue for a bit, I'll
Yes,
be back shortly.
yes, I'm very happy to. So yes, we have been. Um, we're currently looking at building towards uh, the Blizzard show that I'm doing, and we're hopefully going to be doing some kind of cool stuff around that. Because, like I say, I'm planning on doing some kind of more theatrical work for this new show, and like weirdly, Ben is involved with it. So if you want to pop along to that, that's kind of the next thing that I'm plugging. That's this Saturday, and it's also July the 3rd. So I'm doing one this Saturday with Ben, and I'm also doing July 3rd, which is the Blizzard specific one. So yeah, I thought I'd mention that as something that you can come to. And if you do fancy it, like I'm aware that these are like, depending on how you're watching this, you might end up watching it kind of later. So if you miss out on it, you know, don't feel obliged or feel bad. But because I had some issues with some of the adverts and ticket stuff for this show, if you wanted to come to this one this Saturday, I would very much appreciate you being there, because I've just been pulling my head out about how the advert went wrong. So yeah, so that's something that I'm currently looking at plugging at the moment. Oh, the other thing to plug is I'm running something called Comedy Lab, where I've set up my own teaching presentation skills using stand-up and improv techniques to improve your presentation skills. And I'm doing the first one under this company in July the 1st and 2nd, and that is going to be in Manchester, with the aim being that I'm going to use that as kind of my kind of launch for the stuff that I'm planning on doing once I've moved down south, because I went to Brighton partly for the Fringe, but also because I'm intending to move down there. When I am down there, Kirsty, now that you're back, what I think might be cool is if me and you can do the occasional in-person one of these. Oh, what's...
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
yeah,
That we should do that for like, and we could do like, we can like do like streams of us playing the game and stuff
yeah.
like together. We can, because Pokemon Let's Go has that bit where you can tag team.
Oh, I didn't know.
You can, yeah, yeah. If there's two players, it's really weird. You still have to like, you have one character, then if you've got two players with two controllers, like one person can jump in and like help with the battle and help catch the Pokemon. And I've never tried it. Um, but we could do that, and like we could like team up, choose our team, come up with names, stuff
Mm,
like that. People in the chat could help us decide and things.
yeah,
And two of us can do all the fighting
yeah.
together and the catching together. And I actually don't know how it works, so I've not tried the mechanic with another person. But that could be a fun thing to do when we like live much closer together than we currently do.
Yeah, and like for me, like I'm looking forward to when me coming to see you is only going to cost me like 25-30 quid versus,
Oh yeah.
do you know what I mean? And it's not this kind of big, like when I have to go down south, I have to like, like I could, but it's very unlikely that I'd go down and just be there for a day and then come back. So
Yeah.
then there's like the organisational side of things, but the idea of being able to kind of pop across, and it's only like 55 minutes, and we could like run some kind of cooler in person stuff. And
Yeah.
potentially also get some of the people involved, who like to watch the show in London and that kind of thing. That might be quite cool as well.
Yeah, I reckon you'd have a great audience for it here. Absolutely.
Yeah. But yes, I was just whilst you were out, I was just plugging the two shows and Comedy Lab because oh mate, I've as you know because I've been whinging to you all month. I've had such an issue with the advertising for that, with like because there was an issue with the advert and it just like tanking my engagement, like. So genuinely, if anyone watching between now and Saturday on the Twitch, because by the time it's on YouTube it'll probably be afterwards, wants to come watch that one or the one next month, like do come down because it'll just mean that I can be a bit like screw you Zuckerberg and your shitty
Yeah.
algorithm.
Fuck the shitty algorithm.
Indeed, the fucking shitty algorithm. Indeed. So, what stuff do you have coming up that you want to plug?
So, so there is a Blizzard coming up. Obviously I won't be on it, but I've done all the admin for it, so I'd really appreciate it if people went. It has a really, really great lineup. I'm very excited about it, and I'm very sad we can't go. So we've got Jack Gledo headlining, who's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
I've interviewed him for the Blizzard blog before, and he seems like a very sweet man and a very
yeah,
talented performer. So I'm going to put the tickets to that in the chat. We've got support from Ash Preston, Mary Cross, Joe Hollingworth, and Annabelle Davey,
yeah.
with guest host Umby Winters stepping in so that Johnny
Oh,
can have a little break, which is really cool. I love Umby's work. They are immensely talented.
yeah,
And then the next thing I'll be doing is this stream again for anyone who missed it when we were chatting earlier. Our next stream will be on Monday, 19th of June.
yeah,
And if you want to be reminded, you can RSVP to our Facebook event, which is now in the chat.
yeah.
And then the last thing that I'm doing this month that you are doing as well with me, my good
I was
friend.
gonna say I'll be and you both on
We
this.
are both you're on my team for the next Blizzard Comedies broadcast Avalanche, which will be the first episode of season 4. We're in our 4th year of broadcast Avalanche. Can
Wow.
you believe it? We still have a best of that's coming out on the YouTube channel at some point this month. Um, but yeah, this is our next live episode.
Yeah,
Again, I'll put the event in the chat so people can RSVP so they get reminders when it's going to come on. And that has got obviously yourself, Tom,
mm,
and the incredible Ella Bambust on my team.
yeah.
I love
Ace.
her. I think she's fantastic. She is such a talented human being. Obviously, our gorgeous Johnny Collins hosting, and then Katie Mitchell will be my opposing team captain. And again, I adore her. I have so
Mm,
much time for her. And her team is also made up of some of the sweetest people ever. We've got the fantastic Mabel Slattery,
mm,
and we've got Ishi Khan. So quite a femme-heavy show this time,
yeah,
but that's fine.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, also a really great lineup, really great people. It's going to be so much fun. I'm very looking forward to it because obviously we've got 2 months of news to worry about. Um, and yeah, I'm just really excited. I already have some ideas for things I want to talk about, and normally I do all of my planning like the day before the show.
Yeah.
So the fact that I've actually thought about an item of news that I want to talk about this far in advance is wild.
Wow.
But
Can
yeah,
you
I'm very looking forward to it.
can you give a little maybe sneak peek on the stream?
I not on the stream. I can tell you later, I
Yeah.
think, but maybe not because I feel like you're gonna have a really good reaction and I want it to be authentic
All right. That's fine. That's fine
because
then.
like I know exactly what I want to say. But I just feel like my justification will make sense and the Blizzard crowd will get it. But I feel like going into it, people won't necessarily know why
Mm.
I've picked what I want to talk about. So, we'll see. We'll see.
Very intriguing. Very intriguing. Yeah, it's like you're giving us a little film trailer for the uh, for the Blizzard Avalanche.
yeah, I feel like if I don't like nail my argument, I could make some enemies on this episode. So like tune in if you want to see my entire show turn against me.
Well, I'm in your corner. You know, like,
You're in my corner.
you can call us like I don't know the the Hitmonchan, Lee Alliance or something.
You're you're my Hitmonchan, Ella's my Hitmonlee, and I'm like the fighting dojo guy.
I can say you're like Bruno.
Bruno.
Yeah, we don't talk about Bruno.
Hopefully Katie's not Sabrina, otherwise we will get rinsed.
Well, I mean, if Katie's watching this, you better leave all your Gengars at home. I can tell you that right now.
Gengar's at home.
I mean, to be fair,
Have you seen my Gengar? My little Gengar. He's 3D printed.
oh, let me just full screen that one
Shit,
second.
shit. I dropped him. You
Oh, that
see
was
him there?
3D printed.
3D printed little Gengar. Little
Wow.
pointy boy.
And like, did you 3D print that yourself?
No, Chris did, Johnny's partner.
Ah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've already thought something like Gengar is already an episode that I've been like, I think like I'm excited to do Gengar. Like,
Yeah.
like there's a part of me that I feel like I think that we're correct to do this chronologically, but there's a part of me that's a bit like, oh, it would have also been nice to have done the greatest hits.
Yeah. But here's the thing, I don't mind there being a handful of short episodes. And also like we go off on tangents often enough that they're not even that short.
Yeah. Do you know what?
Like
The amount of times that I've like been sat here doing the editing and I've been like, how did we talk about Warthol for 45 minutes?
To be fair, Wars Total had that whole like potential other evolution that was really interesting.
Yeah,
But speaking of short episodes, shall we start talking about Kakuna?
let's do it. Right,
Let's do it.
right, Kakuna. And that was Kakuna. Right, back to the
Like, right. I think Kakuna's design is cool. I like its little arms.
yeah.
I think that differentiates it from Metapod in a way that's cute,
Mm,
but not uh cliche.
yeah,
Um, I think the arms hint at what's to come with Beedrill because it stays pointy.
yeah,
Um, that's it. I'm done.
yeah. Well, I've got a
It's
few
cute
points
little
on
arms. It looks
Metapod.
like it's wearing a tie.
Yeah. Well, that's the main thing. As we both know, we both were like, yeah, it looks like it's wearing a little shirt and tie. But
He's a little smart boy.
of course, well, I mean, it's bringing in the big poker dollars.
Brilliant. He.
When I was coming up with that office, I was originally it was going to be like a little bit more complex than it was, but I decided against it. Um, I was intending on putting stuff in like you don't have to be hurt yourself in your confusion to work here, but it helps.
Hey.
And like maybe
Hey.
and like a little picture of a Beedrill and a Weedle and a couple of like Kakunas, as if like that was its family that it looked at
Hey.
every day they went to work.
So when I was drawing mine, I drew his little tie, and I was thinking of The Office, and I was picturing like a Colin Robinson type vibe.
Mhm.
Like, have you seen What We Do in the Shadows with Colin Robinson, the energy vampire?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was picturing his type of office, and then as I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, it makes sense because like, does Kakuna evolve into like a worker bee? And then I was like, and the Colin Robinson, like maybe it's like it's a drone.
Mhm.
Bees are drones, and
Yeah.
Colin Robinson drones on and boards you. That's his bit that he does, and I feel like there's potential for a crossover with Pokemon and What We Do. I reckon Kakuna is Colin Robinson's
Mhm.
favorite Pokemon. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my spicy take about Kakuna. Is Colin Robinson's favorite Pokemon?
Yeah. I could see that. It makes me go. I wonder what other Pokemon they'd have. Presumably they'd have Snorlax.
Yeah,
You know, because
Snorlax,
they're like falling
and
asleep.
and one of the smelly ones.
One of the
One of
smell.
the smelly
They're
ones. I
just
was.
fucking Caterpie
It
then.
could just be Caterpie, but I was gonna say like oh Trubbish or Garbodor,
Mm,
or like, yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
And it'd have, I reckon. So, right, okay. Actually, now we're on what we do in the shadows.
yeah,
Or in Pokemon Violet, I did a brief go at what we do in the Shadows team.
yeah.
So I had a Grimmsnarl as my Nandor.
Oh, very good.
I had Annihilate as my Laszlo.
Yeah,
I had Gothitelle as my Nadja,
yeah, that's
and
good.
then I had because I was watching season 4 of Colin Robinson. I had a Tinkertuff, which is the one with the hammer as baby Colin Robinson
Oh,
because he's got the hammer that he
yeah,
likes hitting the wall with. I was really pleased with that little team. I was telling Nathan Thomas, who does like Red Shirts podcast, who's another Blizzard comedian. I was telling him, and he was like, "Funnily enough, that's actually like that would be a legitimately good competitive team." And I'm tempted to like bring it out and see if anyone notices what the theme is.
mm,
Um, and then maybe I'd have like because that's only 4, obviously. Maybe I'd have like a Noivern or something just to bring in the bat theme
yeah.
together. Um,
And then you could finally have a Crobat, and then
I could have a Crobat instead of a Noivern, although I have a Crobat a lot of the time. I don't think Crobat's very like vampire. I think Noivern's a bit more vampire than a
mm,
Crobat.
yes. Although I think the thing that goes against Noivern is I think that the ears can make it look a tiny bit less bat-like.
That is true. But its ears are a sound system, so
Mm,
but no, I think yeah, I think Tinkertuff with its hammer
yeah,
would be baby Colin Robinson's favorite Pokemon.
yeah.
And I think Kakuna with its boring office attire would be adult Colin Robinson's favorite Pokemon.
I mean, the other one that I feel like you could stick in there is Jigglypuff,
Yes.
because it, sends people to
Yes.
sleep. Um, but in terms of Kakuna, I think that Kakuna, again, like Weedle, is the slightly cooler out of Metapod and Kakuna.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think it fits with the entire line in that like the Caterpie line is a bit cuter
Mm,
and the Weedle line is a bit cooler, a bit edgier, a bit pointier, quite
yeah,
literally.
yeah. Well, the thing that I think makes it a tiny bit cooler is one. I think the black eyes that it's got, um, like it looks like it's kind of pissed off. But also there are, I want to say, gold and silver ones. It starts occasionally doing their, at least in Crystal, when they start doing the kind of movement based sprites. Um,
Yeah.
with Kakuna, I'm pretty sure the arms move, which I think for me indicates that it's got slightly more kind of attack power or slightly more
Yeah.
competitive elements to it than your Metapod does.
Yes. And I think because Metapod is just like a hard shell full of sludge.
Mm.
And I guess we'll find out what Kakuna's like evolution, gestation process is like.
Yeah, we'll find out
Um,
how the stadium professor fucking booted one
we'll
across the
find out
road.
what the stadium professor did to piss off Kakuna enough that it moved its arms and give it a jab. Um, but yeah, I do think it's a bit more. I guess it's got that whole line has a bit more aggression
Mm,
because like Caterpie just has like tackle and string shot. That's very simple, but like Weedle has the poison sting, which I think is a more aggressive move.
yeah,
Um, and so while Metapod is just, I'm in my little hole and I'm gestating, leave me the fuck alone. Kakuna's like, I'm in my little hole and I'm gestating, and if you come near me, I'll fucking stab you with my pointy hands.
yeah,
And I think again that will transfer further on to Butterfree and Weedle and Beedrill and their relationship. And I think yeah, Beedrill is the more aggressive one out of the two.
yeah. And
Um,
and I imagine that they somewhat kind of worked backwards in that they probably. I mean, we've somewhat spoke about it on this channel before, that like on this podcast before, that like um, a lot of the early Pokedex feels very kind of planned out. That they went, okay, so here's going to be the starters, followed by these Pokemon that you evolve really quickly in order to kind of in order to
yeah,
understand the mechanics
get
of it.
used to the process of the
Yeah,
game. Yeah, yeah.
and it wouldn't surprise me as well that if they're there, because you're going to come across a pigeon, you're going to come across a ratata earlier, that you're then going to notice that there's gaps in your Pokedex if you look through the Pokedex, and then they fill in the gaps, and then it's like, oh, so if I start looking for more Pokemon, I can fill in the gaps of the Pokedex.
Yeah.
And they probably went, okay, so what we're going to have for the ones that evolve quickly, let's go for like an insect, the gestation and metastasizing that actually happens in real life. And they went, okay, well, we'll do a butterfly. And then they're like, okay, so what other insect should we do? We'll also do a bee. And then I think because they probably went, we'll do a butterfly, we'll do a bee, and then probably work backwards at that point. They were like, of course, the bee
Yeah.
one's going to be more aggressive out of the two.
Yeah, yeah, I think that definitely makes sense. And like I think I think the aggressive bee was a nice like simple starting point, but I do like how they've evolved their bee concepts moving forwards
Mm.
because they've done like Rabombi, which is a very small, non-threatening bee. And they've got Combi, which is like has the relationship between the worker and the queen bee with Combi and Vesperquen.
Yeah,
Um, and I think that those were really interesting new takes on bees as they move forward because
yeah,
I feel like the other butterfly Pokemon are just kind of just the same.
yeah,
Like they're just more like pretty spore based Pokemon with wings, with bug moves and flying moves and spores.
yeah,
Like I don't feel like Beautifly and Dustox, which again we'll get to in their episodes. I think Beautifly and Dustox, I like the way their designs are different,
mm,
and I like how like one's a bit more mothy
mm,
and one's a bit more elegant. I get it,
mm,
but I don't feel like either of them are that different from Butterfree.
yeah,
Whereas by the time you get to more bee Pokemon, Beedrill is distinctly different from them. Like they have thought about other things that bees do and other
yeah,
things that bees can be. Um, and I think we've kind of skipped ahead a little bit, if I'm honest with you.
yeah.
Because
Well,
we're still on the Kakuna episode. There's not much to say about Kakuna,
yeah,
but like, yeah, I think your original point was not wrong. Like they've definitely given that like a lot of thought and
yeah. And just before we move on from that, um, I I agree with you about how they've kind of looked at other aspects of bees. I mean, like for anyone who knows, like like so I'm pretty much from Manchester, even though I'm from the city next door. But like Manchester's thing is like it's
bees.
yeah it's it's very much attached itself to the bee. Um, so I kind of like it for that, but I have kind of recognised like historically that there are different types of bees, but I think the thing is it's like I think you would struggle to come up with, and this is probably more to do with public knowledge and public perception. I think that there is less difference across butterflies than there is across bees.
Yeah. And I think there are distinct I think the issue is that there are very distinctly visual differences in butterflies, but I don't think people are very knowledgeable about their behaviors unless they go out of their way to look into them.
Yeah.
Whereas I guess the bee Pokemon have all had different elements of it because bees don't become a cocoon.
No,
Like
I was going to
like
say
you
that.
wouldn't get a worm become a cocoon, evolve into a bee in real life. That's a caterpillar thing. It is um a distinct like difference between the real world and the Pokemon world that a bee comes out of a cocoon at all. Like bees are just always bees. Which I guess because this evolutionary process with the cocoon Pokemon in the middle, I guess it's just designed to echo um but to parallel the Caterpie line,
Yeah,
and to be a foil for Metapod in a way. Um, and so I understand how they ended up getting more creative with their bee inspired Pokemon compared to their butterfly inspired Pokemon
yeah,
because once you've done one lot of butterflies that come out of a cocoon, they could have got creative with it and not done cocoon based butterfly Pokemon, but I don't think they did.
no,
Like all of the ones that I can think of off the top of my head, Dustox and Beautifly from Cocoons. What's the grey one? The pretty grey one with lots of different patterns. Begins with a
Vivian.
V. Vivian. That one comes from a cocoon, like a different looking cocoon,
Yeah,
but a cocoon nonetheless.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Um,
There are some moths that don't,
yeah,
like frostlasses. I think technically not frostlass, frostmoth. Dawn, is a moth,
yeah,
but I think that just evolves straight into frostmoth.
yeah. And you got Venomoth, Venonat.
Venomoth and Venonat, which again, what is Venonat? Well, now we're going to come to this. Venonat like a big mothball
Uh, so like gnats,
because
I
Venonat's not a
think.
larva.
Well,
Yeah,
gnat. I've always read it as to be like it is. Again, it's very I think it's unrealistic. I don't. I'm not a gnat.
yeah,
I'm going to surprise you now. Not a gnat expert, right? But yeah, it's just like a change in state from just like one Pokemon to another, and it. Um, but yeah, I think to be fair to
I guess.
Butterfree and the other butterfly Pokemon, I think there's probably less scope beyond visual, unlike bees,
Yeah,
where I think in terms of behaviour and like, I mean that's another thing as well. I was just about to say, I mean, it's just occurred to me now. Like bees are more social animals as well,
yeah,
so there's kind of that element to it as well. That again, like as far as I'm aware, like butterflies don't like live in colonies.
yeah. I think yeah, there are more like distinct concepts you can draw from when it comes to a bee. And I would guess the moth Pokemon that I guess is the most accurate, as opposed to Venonat and Venomoth, would be Larvesta and Volcarona, because that actually starts as a larva and then becomes a moth.
Mm,
Um, like a big fat fire moth, but a moth nonetheless.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think if anything, like Beedrill is the outlier in being the least realistic one in that it doesn't come from a cocoon. And then if anything, they've leaned more into the real world as they um went on. And I think I'm gonna be looking out now for where they have deviated explicitly from a recognizable realistic pattern.
Mm,
Because in what, the 30 odd years Kakuna has been a thing, I think this is the first time I've acknowledged, oh, bees don't come out of cocoons.
mm,
Even though I knew that was a fact, I just never thought to challenge it. Like bees don't come out of cocoons, but Beedrill does.
yeah. Well, let's see if the Pokemon Stadium professor's like, I cannot believe this fucking cocoon bollocks
I
that they.
feel like I feel like this is another reason that Kakuna is Colin Robinson's favorite Pokemon because he'd really enjoy telling everyone how bees don't actually come
Oh
out of
yeah,
cocoons.
yeah,
Like this would be a thing he would use to drain people.
yeah.
I mean,
And
I'm
then
finding it terribly interesting, but in this situation, I'm probably Colin Robinson, and everyone at home is going like, "How the fuck are you 30 years old and just noticed that bees don't come out of cocoons?"
well, you know what, right? People learn things at different ages, don't they?
No, it's not. I'm not learning it for the first time. I'm just now acknowledging it in the context of Kakuna.
Oh, well,
Like,
so
obviously bees don't come from cocoons. But I just never thought to challenge it. I was told Beedrill does come out of a cocoon. And I was like, okay,
and this is how this podcast broke Kirsty's mind.
it did. How am I this broken on the Kakuna episode? For fuck's sake.
It's been full of surprises. I feel like every single episode of this has had some surprise for me, and I never thought to myself, yeah, this is the one where Kirsty's brains come out of her ears. Well,
Well,
should
here
we?
we are.
Yeah.
Shall we look at some Pokedex entry and just shine some fucking light on how a bee came out of a cocoon?
Let's do it. Let me just get it up. Um, we have got the Dex entries. So, um, Almost incapable of moving, this Pokemon can only harden its shell to protect itself from predators, which we know that they would then go on to retcon.
Yes, they would.
Yeah. Oh, I've just skipped ahead to the Stadium Professor just because he's my favourite. He's my absolute favourite. I'll do Yellow dead quick, but
So
I want to get to
Yellow
Stadium.
already retcons it.
Eh,
Yellow is already retconning it.
yeah, it's weird that they did that. I wonder, I wonder why they decided to go with that. But when endangered, it may stick out its stinger and poison its enemy, and then Stadium Professor, because it is virtually motionless, it may appear dead. That's got to be one of his darkest entries. Well,
I love the
it's not moving. It's
idea.
probably dead. Well, is
No, I
it?
know exactly what happened here. He saw all the Metapod being really still and he cracked it open and spilled it.
Yeah.
Then he saw all the Kakuna looking really still and he was like, probably dead. And then he went over and Kakuna stung him and he was like, you little fucking cunt. And then he was like, gotta tell everyone else that they're not dead. They just look it
Yeah.
and then just put like frequently looks dead and then stopped engaging with the Kakuna that actually was not dead but was busy hibernating.
So I'm imagining the Stadium Professor like digging a grave and being like, get that Kakuna in there and see if it moves. Because if it don't move, I'm just gonna shovel dirt on it, and it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't put that past Stadium Professor. I wish Stadium Professor had a name. I wish. Because, you know,
Yeah.
like, we know that red and blue is oak. We know that gold and silver is elm. But Stadium Professor, who's Stadium Professor? Because I think they probably got sacked for like, some HR complaint.
Being a fucking renegade.
Yeah, just there in the HR meeting, just going. So hi, yeah, we've had a couple of we've been hearing that you've been cracking open metapods. You've been accusing Pokemon of being dead. Do you have anything? Do you have anything to say? And they'd have been there with their union rep, just going. Are we going to get out of this? And the union rep going, "You're fucking done, mate. You are done." Well, moving ahead to Generation 2. Again, they carry on with this the retcon. Although it is a cocoon, it can move a little and it can extend its poison barb if it is attacked.
I think Stadium Professor just wasn't paying enough attention. Like, like he thought it was dead, but it was actually moving, and so he just doubled down. It definitely wasn't moving. It looked dead,
What I,
and it's not dead.
what I think happened with Stadium Professor is, so this is the 13th Pokemon, isn't it, in the Pokedex, right? So
Yes.
so they've gone, look, you've done some really fucking fucked up stuff for the last 12. Like, you can't do anything with this Pokemon because we don't trust you not to crack it open. And he was like, well, alright then, I won't do anything. And then it didn't move and he was like, well, it's clearly dead. Um,
uh,
uh,
Silver's a bit different. From this form, it will grow into an adult. As its body becomes softer, the external shell hardens, which I guess is very similar to Metapod.
yeah, but it's not mentioning the
Um,
word innards.
Good. I don't want to hear about any more innards.
Uh, I like the phrasing it's used for crystal. Nearly incapable of movement, it leans itself against stout trees. Like, that's...
Hmm.
You don't often hear the word stout or in relation to a
Yeah.
tree.
Hmm.
Like, oh, we got some Kakuna. You better not get digging those stout trees.
Yep.
Winds me up. And then we've got Stadium 2. He's obviously saved his job. Although it is a cocoon, it can move a little. It can extend its poison barb if attacked, which to me says that he fucking attacked it and got stabbed.
So I like. He did get stabbed. I think my fan theory was correct.
Yeah,
I like Ruby and Sapphire. It offers like a bit more detail and gives me something about Kakuna that I wouldn't have necessarily known. And same for Emerald, which is near enough word for word the same. Kakuna remains virtually immobile as it clings to a tree. However, on the inside, it is extremely busy as it prepares for its coming evolution. This is evident from how hot the shell becomes to the touch. And I think what would be cool
Mm,
is if there was like a secret thing where Kakuna like a really secret like hidden ability where like Kakuna had flame body
mm.
rather than like whatever normal shit it has.
Oh yeah,
And
that'd
that
be good.
way, like, because it's hot to the touch, like, just one in a million Kakunas have a random flame body, or like when it's if it's on the last level, or if you get it over like level 20 without evolving it from a Kakuna,
Mm.
it switches to flame body because it needs
Yeah,
to evolve when you keep preventing it.
yeah,
I think that would be a cool mechanic to like draw in this side of it.
yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but I often, if I'm kind of incentivized by moves, I will on purposely not evolve a Pokemon so I get the moves earlier. So, like, now I'm thinking about it, I don't know why they've not incorporated that of like give you other reasons to not evolve a Pokemon.
Mm. I didn't realize. I think so. I was playing Let's Go, and a lot of the Meowths that you catch already have payday,
Mm.
even though they're very low level. But I didn't realize when I was younger that you don't get payday until after Meowth is old enough to evolve. You have to keep it back a little bit longer, even though it's Meowth's signature move.
Ah,
And I didn't learn that until I was playing, and I was like, why doesn't my Meowth have payday? It wants to evolve. So I kept it back, got payday, and then just like absolutely fucking cleaned up. Like I got so much money
yeah,
using payday.
yeah,
Even though you don't need it, like you're already winning all the fights and getting all the money in the world.
yeah. That's one of the problems that I've had. So I mean, I'm a big fan of a cat. My cat's been on one of these podcast episodes, but I've never bothered with Meow because I've always felt like the payday thing. It's like beyond, I'd say, the first or second gym. Like I never really particularly worry about money.
Yeah. I think it's a cute um nod to like the lucky cat
Yeah,
thing, but that's about it. And I think I always wanted a Persian
yeah,
because Giovanni's was so elegant
mm,
and just badass.
mm,
Like real cool
yeah.
vibes.
Tell you what,
Giovanni and his Persian.
they really lost
Except,
that for a lowland Persian, didn't they?
oh yeah, it's dope. But like, I don't
Uh,
think I ever ended up with a Persian because like by the time I was playing, I was like, I don't really want normal type Pokemon on my team.
mm,
So like, and I know it can learn other moves, but like, I like taking advantage of stab. That's like my
yeah,
one bit of strategy I actually bother with. But back to Kakuna.
yeah,
Temporary stage will make in its body, and then it's back to it's almost completely unable to move on its own and almost incapable of moving. It's like, but no, we know it's got little pointy arms.
yeah,
Diamond and Pearl goes into more detail. It hides from predators under leaves and in nooks of branches.
yeah. I
I mean, I
like
could have
that.
guessed that probably. So Heart Gold, again, kind of like I feel like I feel like there are just people are looking at different Kakuna.
Yeah,
I feel like some of them just sit still and then like the badasses get put to the edge and they poke people.
yeah,
Or the ones that are in safe communities with lots of Beedrill to protect them don't really move. And the ones that have professors jabbing at them all the time retain some ability to
mm,
sting. Because Heart Gold is back to, although it's a cocoon, it can move a little. It can extend its poison barb if it's attacked.
yeah,
Then it's back to nooks and branches, almost incapable of moving again. Yeah, these are all very similar to what has been done before. I think Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee has probably landed in a comfortable middle ground, saying able to move only slightly. When endangered, it may stick out its stinger and poison its enemy,
yeah,
which I think makes sense. I think that's the sensible professor who has taken all of the data and figured out the actual reality,
yeah,
whereas all of the others have just taken a very small sample size and assume that it's representative of every Kakuna in the world when it is in fact not.
Yep, and we know that that Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee is Professor Oak, so it's almost like he's gone, right, if you're going to do anything, you got to do it yourself. Right, we're going to study these Kakuna. None of us are going to accuse them of being dead if they don't move. Right, pass me the pen. And then for me, the other one that jumps out at me is it hides from predators under leaves and in nooks of branches.
Yeah.
Like, it makes me wonder what's... I mean, we already know the bird-type Pokemon, but, like, that's, you know, that's very vague. Like, what else
Well,
is
I
eating a
guess
Kakuna?
Ekans
Do they
might
eat
eat a Kakuna. I know they eat Pidgey,
Yeah,
and Pidgey eat Kakuna.
yeah. Circle of
So
Life.
maybe Ekans also eats Kakuna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I reckon Ekans also eat Execute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I reckon I would eat Execute.
Yeah. Would you fried, scrambled?
It depends what I'm in the mood for, mate. I'll make a little exit omelette.
You could call it a cute exit omelette.
Omelette cute.
Yeah.
I feel like Execute should have been in Paldea in the Spanish one because like Frittata's a whole they should have had like Execute evolve into a Frittata Pokemon
Yeah.
rather than an Executor. I think that would be I mean maybe a bit morbid but cute.
Yeah. Just so I'm going to say this now, and this is purely because I don't want another. My God, bees don't come out of cocoons. Are you aware that eggs don't turn into coconuts? Oh,
Yes.
that's good. That's good. I didn't want. I
I
didn't want
mean
this to be
again it's
too
also
much in one
not something
episode.
I've necessarily it's not something I've necessarily challenged. But like I mean Execute could be like seeds.
I've always viewed them. My theory is that they are seeds. Right? They're called execute, but they're actually seeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could be see. Okay, I'm just gonna wait until we get to the execute episode because I was gonna go like look and just be like, how are they described? Because I feel like they do like they have seed bomb as a move,
Yeah.
definitely, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
think they are referred to as a seed Pokemon as much as an egg Pokemon.
yes. It's like why not made them
I get, although in a
seed
way, an
acute?
egg is a kind of seed.
An egg. Yeah, I suppose it is. I suppose it is. Um, but oh God, you made my mind break now. Because my thought, cause, yeah, I suppose they are. Suppose they are.
Yeah,
Because like, what's a seed if not an egg that's put in the ground?
yeah.
Uh,
I
oh,
mean,
God.
yeah.
What I thought was going to be a little fun moment of, you do know that eggs don't turn into
Winding me
coconuts.
up,
Now I'm.
bullying me.
God, you might have to do the next section on your own whilst I recover.
All right.
Right,
Okay, I think that's us at the end of the Pokedex. Should we have a I feel like it's gonna come as no surprise what it's gonna say, but should we have a look at Kakuna's Smogon rating?
yeah, let's do it. Okie doke, we have got it there. Okay, so I'll tell you what is interesting. They must have thought about this. Its speed drops down in between evolutions.
Yeah, that makes sense because obviously it goes from being, I guess, faster than the one of the faster bug Pokemon, I assume, to not being able to move at all, and its defense goes up.
Yeah,
Um, and I feel like yeah, that makes sense. That's logical. Like I like how they've thought about the way the characterization affects the stats rather than just being like higher evolution, higher stats.
yeah, yeah. What I feel like if they'd put like a tiny bit of extra thought in, they, I feel like they should make that animation be moving a tiny bit less.
Yeah. I mean, if it's trying to balance on that point,
Yeah, I just feel like Stadium Professor, like if Stadium Professor saw this particular Kakuna and he was like, "That's probably dead." At that point, we know he's being a dick.
Yeah, you know he's just a dumbass. This is the one that everyone was like, it can move a bit, it's got pointy arms. And Stadium Professor was like, I've never seen this in my life.
And then it's like, wapow!
Yeah.
Poison sting in it. But yeah, like, I mean, I'm looking at that, right? I think it's got two things going for it, right? Which is, first of all, it definitely looks cooler than Metapod. Just
It
like,
does. Yeah.
and it's like, it's nice
It's
to be
got its
able
little
to,
like ninja
mm,
ninja mask eyes
yeah, uh,
and its little Colin Robinson tie.
yeah. Like, I mean, well, I mean, what else is he going to go to work in? Um, and I personally think, and I thought this when I was like drawing the competition before. I think they probably should have kept these style eyes over for Beedrill, but I understand why they went with the red ones.
Yeah.
But I feel like these would have looked a tiny bit cooler.
They would look cool. They definitely would have looked cool.
Um, but yeah, and we can see there as well. It's in the not fully evolved category.
Yeah.
Um,
Which I feel like is an understatement.
what? But yeah, the thing is though, I could not imagine many people going right. I bet I've got to get a Kakuna on my team. You know,
Yeah.
like if you want
Like,
to,
if someone wants a bee drill, they will tolerate a Kakuna to get it. But like, yeah, without my fun mechanic of adding a flame body to it,
yeah,
if you leave it unevolved for so long, at which point I think the combination of some of the poison moves you can give a Kakuna, you'd have to TM your way uh to an actual decent move pool.
mm,
Uh but I reckon you could get uh, with my idea of like, instead of having just Harden, you get like the even stronger one that you could
yeah,
make defensive. And then if you've got flame body and poison type moves, you could probably do something quite strategic with that.
yeah,
But as it is useless.
yeah. Did they ever do that where its abilities change across levels versus
I
evolution?
don't think they do. Um, I think um no, I don't think they do. I don't think I've ever seen that. I think you can go to like the guy and he can swap out your Pokemon's like ability for its hidden ability or something.
Mm.
But I don't think I've ever seen that a mechanic, but it could just be a mechanic I'm not paying enough attention to.
Well, there you go. I mean,
They should be listening to
yeah,
me.
the Pokemon
Give
Company.
me a job at Pokemon.
I agree. I very much agree. And imagine all the free stuff you'd get. Um, but yeah, I just even in the not fully evolved category, I just could not see because if I remember correctly, I think Ivysaur was also in the not fully evolved category. It's like why would you
Yeah,
have a Kakuna?
Ivysaur is stomping Kakuna.
Yeah,
Unless Kakuna has Flame Body.
there you go.
In
Get
which case it might last one extra move if Ivysaur starts with a physical attack.
yeah. So Satoshi Tajiri, get on it and get on it now. So, what rating you gonna give it?
I feel like I'm gonna give it a 3 because I feel like I had more to say about it than I anticipated.
Yeah,
Um, but also it makes no fucking sense. In a way that I only fully acknowledged today. Um, so I will give it like I'm never gonna have one on my team. I also don't have like amazing memories of it being in the show. It's
yeah.
a Kakuna. It's there. It's not as good as the way I would have done it based on the Pokedex entry
Mm,
information that I have.
mm,
3, and now that I'm thinking about it, it's lucky it's not 2.
yeah. I think I'm going to join you with a 3, and I'm going to echo what I said before. I think the problem is it's so massively overshadowed by Beedrill that
Yeah.
when you come across it in the games, it's like if you've evolved it, you're going to be holding on to it until it's a Beedrill. If you come across it in the wild, you're not going to capture it because all it's got is Harden, and it's going to be harder to evolve. But in addition, I think whenever it turns up in the anime, I mean, I agree. I feel like we've spoke about it much more than think we potentially could have. But I feel like that's happened like every time that I've been like, oh, this is going to be 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But I think whenever it turns up in the anime, it's a precursor to Beedrill in that a Cocoon has turned up, so that means that Ash is about to get attacked by Beedrill soon.
Yeah.
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 Right, so should we go into the break?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Right, I may quickly nip out to the small boys' room, and by that I mean my room.
Your room.
Yeah. Right. So I'll be back in a moment if you wish to, monologue as you said
Monologue.
to me before.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm going to repeat all of the things I said earlier because I've got nothing to add at this point. I've already plugged anything. You can go. This is me monologuing.
All right. Cool.
Um. So yeah. Reminder. Follow us on all of the things. Get your friends to follow us on all of the things. Get your friends to tune in because, we enjoy doing this and we would like there to be a reason to continue doing so other than our own self-indulgence. So what I've done is I've gone and put a link to our link tree in the chat where you can find our YouTube channel, Podbean, Patreon, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, which are all of the things that you can follow us on. As I said before, so not with Patreon because we have 0 patrons at the moment, and that's fine. But when we get to 500 followers on the other channels, or enough of the other channels, we'll figure it out. We'll see how excited we are by uh 500 followers on one channel and decide if that's enough to celebrate. I don't know. But we're aiming to get to like 500 followers, and then what we'll do is we'll do another giveaway. We don't know what it will be yet. Might be another Build-A-Bear thing, might be another like Pokemon Center big brand company thing. But what we'd really like to do is to be able to support like smaller creators who are making stuff under the Pokemon umbrella because it's difficult enough for them with Nintendo cracking down on creators as much as they are. So I think it would be really bloody lovely if we could, purchase some of their work and also promote their their business to anyone who wants to participate but doesn't win. That is something that, we really want to do with our platform. And obviously we can only do that if that platform grows. So please do tell your friends to come hang out with us. We want to hear what you think about all of these Pokemon as much as we want to talk about it, because I feel like anyone else's input, whether that's knowledge or opinion, is always welcome. And any takes that like we haven't thought of, I am sure we would really like to incorporate. And I feel like what's going to happen is that each of these individual Pokemon episodes is going to end up being 3 hours long because we keep hearing other people's takes, other people's stories, other people's memories of different Pokemon. And it could get chaotic, but I would rather have to like handle the chaos than like have me and Tom just talking to ourselves every time. So, thank you to everyone who is making the effort to join in. This is already a longer episode than I thought it was going to be. I thought these were going to be really quick ones. And here we are, 2 hours and 20 minutes in, and we still have a whole episode to go. So, Tom's still not back, so I'm going to talk about some other shit. I guess all I can do is talk about the events again. We've got the next episode of this on Monday, 19th of June. Me and Tom are both going to be on Blizzard Comedy's Broadcast Avalanche over on that Twitch channel. What I'll do is I'll put a link to the chat to the Blizzard Comedy, a link in the chat to the Blizzard Comedy Twitch so you can subscribe there so you don't miss it. Hey Tom, how was your week?
Yes, it was pretty good. Pretty good. I've not had one of those since Brighton, so that was all basically made in the south.
Oh,
Um, one thing that I think is worth plugging on this channel, I'm currently doing a Fallout New Vegas run through, and I'm like putting all the kind of points into speech rather than kind of like weapons and kind of that kind of thing as a way of kind of seeing what like the speech options are. Um, I'm kind of doing what I often do on this channel, where I'll kind of like do like little skits and jokes based off of the kind of like speech options. So I'm doing that.
that sounds so cool. That
Yeah.
sounds like so much fun.
I don't know if you played Fallout New Vegas, um, but like, I'm really, really, really like pained to be like given this run that I'm doing, like what option I'm gonna pick when it comes to crunch time, 3/4 of the way in.
Yeah, I reckon that sounds like a really fun little experiment. I've not played a lot of Fallout, if I'm honest. But again, I mostly just play uh Nintendo rather than any other consoles. I've not had many other consoles, so I have to stick to Nintendo titles. I did play Fallout Shelter though,
Oh,
which is on the Switch.
yeah, Fallout Shelter,
Uh,
the where you
the little
like,
mobile game,
yeah,
yeah.
uh,
I quite liked that. It was like a cute little kind of part strategy, part idle game.
yeah,
And it was like one of the, and because it's free as well, it was one of the first games I got on the Switch. So I played a lot of it. And I think to this day, so when I search on my Switch, you can filter your um uh games so that they show in order of hours most played. And my first one is like YouTube, and I'm like, okay, fair enough. I use my Switch as my TV for like a year and a half. And then it's Pokemon Arceus Legends.
mm,
And then I think it's Pokemon Violet, and then it's Tetris 99,
uh,
and then somewhere really high up is Fallout Shelter because it was Tetris 99 was the first game I got on my Switch, which
mm,
is why I've played so much of it. It's really easy to just play for like 5, 10 minutes
yeah,
at a time and then put it down in a way that other games aren't,
yeah,
and all of that accumulates.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
Mine would probably be Mario Kart 8, but Fallout is like my like number one like favorite video game. Like, if you can believe, like even that we're doing this podcast about Pokemon, and like I do bits of research for these Pokemon, but actually like a lot of it is like with yourself, like off my own kind of memories and experience. If you can believe, like I actually prefer Fallout to Pokemon. That's like how much I like love the
Oh,
game series. It's so good. And yes, Saf, I suppose, although I'd not considered it, I am basically being a bard in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Um, if that is such a thing.
I hope it is, because I feel like we are rapidly coming up to living in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, and I would like my creative writing
Yeah.
degree to come in handy.
Well, I mean, I live in the north, so it already is that rounder.
Eh.
Um, oh, I tell you what, though, one thing that the south doesn't have, as I've discovered, this didn't happen this trip in Brighton, but it has happened in another trip, right? Now, see if you can point out the issue that I'm going to have here, right? When I've got this thing where if I'm by the seaside, I like to get fish and chips because
Yeah.
I'm like potentially I'm supporting local business and potentially like local fishermen and such, right? I ordered a fish and chips, a gravy.
You don't have to justify ordering fish and chips. You can just be like, I felt like going to the chippy.
Well, okay, well, thank you. That's good to know. Good to know, because otherwise I'd have been like, and then and then I like to find out that they've got their newspaper from a local supplier, and I also like to find out that but I ordered fish, chips, gravy, and a barm cake To which I was then told, "What's a barm cake?" And apparently, having ordering bread in a fish and chip shop down south is not something that has made its way down there. Like, you live there all the time, and you're
Yes,
from there.
bread. You just don't call it a barm cake. You just say, "Give me some bread."
Well, do you know what? Do you know
And it
what?
depends what kind of chip you're in. Some will do like a chip butty, some will do a chip roll, some will do a chip and pitta. Like you can get bread. You just need to tell them you want bread.
Well, that should be right. Right. I tell you what did happen on this. I tell you what did happen on this bloody journey to Brighton. Right. Right. I went into a different fish and chip shop because once again I like to support local businesses, local fishermen, local news agents, and so on and so forth. Right. Local places where you can buy your cans of Coke and such. Right. And I ordered a sausage, cheesy chips, spicy curry, and I didn't order a barm cake this time because I thought I'm not getting into that debate again, right? To which
Say the word bread, man. It's bread.
well, right, I don't think it would have done any fucking difference because do you know what happened on this bloody journey? Get home and realise that I've instead of cheesy chips, I've got chips. Instead of a sausage, I've got fish, and instead of gravy, instead of curry, I've got gravy, right? So, and I genuinely think that man who worked in that fish and chip shop could not understand a word I said.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's made some shit up.
Yeah, yeah, and like I didn't realise that it was going to be that big of a barrier for me down there. No, and I was trying to help them out by not ordering a barm cake, but apparently,
But sausage was still too much.
yeah, sausage. What's wrong with the way I say sausage?
Nothing.
Is it?
I knew exactly what you meant when you said sausage.
Yeah, but you've known me for years. Hey, what? On that note, is there a sausage Pokemon?
I don't think so.
Well, maybe there's a gap in the market right there.
I mean, is Pseudo Wudo kind of sausage shaped?
Yeah, but he's more meant. He's trying to be a tree in it rather.
He's trying to be a tree. Yeah, I know he's trying to be a tree, but he is sausage shaped. Diglett is kind of sausage shaped, and by extension, Wiglet is kind of sausage shaped.
There is a bread Pokemon, according to Saf, but not
Yeah,
a sausage one.
there's Fido, who's bred.
Yeah.
I love him. I can't wait to talk about him. I love him. He looks delicious. When I saw Fido, I texted my Spanish friend and I was like, please tell me he's based on a real delicacy and then take me to Spain to get one. I want to get a cake that looks like this Pokemon and eat it.
And was it based on a real Spanish delicacy?
I can't remember what he said. I'm going to text him again.
My favourite of the food-based Pokemon that I think of is normally Alcremie.
Yep. Alcremie looks tasty.
Yeah. Although, right, because I've told that story about me in the fish and chip shop, right, I feel like I'm very aware of how northern I sounded when I was like Alcremie.
Yeah. But you're northern, so it's fine. You're allowed to sound northern.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And if there is a bread type Pokemon, why can't we have a barm cake type Pokemon?
Go complain to whoever wrote the Galarian for not making you a northern bred Pokemon.
Well, with my luck, I'll get that same guy.
If there was a sausage roll Pokemon, I would call it Greg.
Yeah, I'd call that Greg.
Greg.
Yeah. And it evolves into like a pasty.
Yeah. It should have been in the Galar region, the sausage roll Pokemon.
Yeah.
I did like Sinistea though, and the apple pie Pokemon. I liked that one.
Yeah.
I thought they were cool.
I like the cup of tea Pokemon.
Sinistea.
Sinistea yeah.
Guys. Yeah. I thought when I saw them, I thought about getting a tattoo of them. I thought about talking to Kerry. And I didn't in the end. Because I was like, no, no. I said I was gonna get one Pokemon, and I'm one and done. And I'll just get all of them, and I want my skin for other things. And then, my good lovely friend Katie was like, "Should we get matching Pokemon tattoos?" And I was like, "I've already got my Pokemon tattoo." And she was just like, "Yeah, but what if you got another one?" And I was like, "Well, that's me convinced."
Yeah. Well,
So now I want to get a Grookey.
well, on that note, I don't have any tattoos, but
You should get
if
one.
we get enough followers on the Patreon one day, I'll get the logo. Um,
When we get 100 patrons, we'll get the Talking Trubbish logo.
yeah, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. What more motivation do you need? Because I genuinely have. I mean, I've spoke to you about this like off camera before. That like I'm like, because I don't have any tattoos. It's hard to go. This is a tattoo that I want to get. I think that once you've like ripped the bandage off, you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
cover me.
I was the same. I was like, I was like, I can't imagine something being so important to me. I'd want to immortalize it on my skin forever. That's weird. And then I was drunk in the pub and I saw Carrie's Pokemon tattoos and I was like, those were cool. I want one. So I got one. And I booked it
Mm.
there and then while I was shit faced. I was like 8 pints deep or something. And bless her, she was very kind. She was like, if you wake up in the morning and you regret this, I'm going to give you your deposit back because like you said you wanted to make this decision sober and now you've given me a deposit at 11 p.m. And I went in and I got it and I never looked back. And
Um,
now I just get tattoos because I'm like, oh, that's cute. I'll get that rather than because it's meaningful at all. I'm gonna say like 3 or 4 out of 28 odd tattoos that are meaningful.
mm,
Maybe a bit more, but even then, like sometimes I attach meaning to them afterwards.
yeah.
Like like I got a unicorn. I got a unicorn, and I was like, I got it because the unicorn was cute, and then I let my goddaughter name it. Like I didn't get it for her. I've asked her what she wants me to get, and she wants me to get a snake.
Mm,
So she's fucking cool.
yeah.
And now I've got to get a snake.
Uh,
Um,
Um,
but yeah.
yeah. Well, before we move on, I'm just gonna. So, Saf, have you not got any tattoos yourself? Because that statement, I've wanted tattoos since I was 15. I
Yeah,
mean,
you should get some. Why the fuck not? What'd you get? Tell us in the chat what tattoos you would get.
yeah. Right. So, so yeah. And whilst I'm just conscious of the time as well. Um,
It's getting late.
it is.
And I was saying this in the break. I didn't think this episode was gonna go on so late. I thought it'd be like done by now.
Well, apologies for being so. What's the word? So.
So
What
very
about this? And what about
interesting.
this? And what about this? I've got one, but I've got plans for so many more. I just need the money for. Again, that's another thing as well. Like I know that if you spread it out, you go like, you spend 150 £150 on a tattoo or whatever. Like, it's gonna last for the rest of your life. But there's also a part of me that's like, yeah, but that's like a big chunk of money.
It is a big chunk of money in one go, and you've got to. It's not something you want to do if you don't have the money, because then you'll resent the tattoo,
Yeah.
and you don't want to do that if you're gonna have it forever.
Yeah. Right, should we head on into
Right,
Beedrill?
let's do it. Let's do it. So we've already said a lot about Beedrill.
Yeah,
Beedrill is the cool bug of Viridian Forest,
yeah,
the cool aggressive bug of Viridian Forest.
yeah,
Um, and it shouldn't come out of a cocoon, but it does.
yeah,
Um, and it is a pretty standard basic bee.
yeah,
And it left a lot of room for people to play with different ideas of bees in later generations.
yeah.
And I think I don't know if there is an episode like this, but I would like it if there was. If there was an episode that was like a very bee populated area,
Yeah.
and you've got your bee drills and your Rabombees and your Vespiquen and I guess your bee adjacent Pokemon as well.
Mm.
I think it'd be really cool, like having the characters explore that and sort of go, look at how all these different bees coexist
Yeah.
or don't,
Yeah.
what conflict there might be between them, the ones that are more into flowers and then the ones that are, very matriarchal compared to bee drills, which make no fucking sense coming out of cocoons.
Yeah.
I think that would be a fun episode to watch
Yeah. And you
to
could,
get a bit more of that environmental lore.
yeah. Well, on the note of environment, you could go down that route of because there's this big effort of save the bees and like how important the bees are.
Yeah.
So you could have that kind of be a part of it of like of like you could do a thing where like for half a season you're like there's like rumors of the bees kind of you know they're being
Where are
left
all
out.
the bees going?
Yeah.
And they're like migrating somewhere cleaner or
Yeah.
something. And that's how they all get together from like different regions all over the world.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
think that'd be cool.
you
Um,
could also do a thing where someone's kind of slightly exploiting the bees, like Team Rocket's exploiting the bees for their honey.
yeah, I think that'd be sick.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it'd be a good opportunity to repair Beedrill's reputation because we were saying Beedrill's kind of the cool aggressive one, but I guess it's cool because we have projected cool onto Beedrill, whereas in the show it was kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Like it harassed people, it stole Metapod for no apparent reason. Um, and I feel like really Beedrill should have been a wasp
Yeah. I was about to
because
say that.
wasps are dicks,
Yeah. Really,
but
it's opposite.
Beedrill being a bee gives bees a bad reputation, and I maybe the Pokemon generation just don't care as much about bees the way they should, and that's why they're all dying out.
Mm.
Because we all grew up with Beedrill being the asshole,
Yeah.
uh, when it didn't need to be.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
for me, the main thing that I like think of when I think of bees, and I think most people probably do, is that like bees make honey. Like they're known for
yeah,
having the stinger, but they also make honey. And I cannot recall. I mean, we might find out when we look into the law, but I'm guessing it won't have
no.
about beedrills making honey.
I think Beedrill leaned into the stinger, Tombi leaned into the honey, and Rabombi leaned into um flowers
Yeah,
and how it pollinates flowers. Whereas in real life, bees in general do all three of those things. In the Pokemon world, they are split out into three different bee Pokemon.
yeah,
So I guess, um, uh, yeah, I
yeah,
guess it's an interesting take.
yeah. Well, and on the note of beedrill, kind of going into the stinger, kind of heavy. Like my main, so going into this episode, I was like, what's my main kind of thoughts on beedrill? And I was like, so I've likely had one, but I can't particularly remember having one.
Yeah,
My main memory of Beedrill is uh, Ash Ketchum would often get like attacked by them at various points in the
yeah,
series.
yeah,
And I think I think again part of the thing that's like cool about them is they are like at least in the first generation before they have a wider pool of Pokemon. I feel like they are perceived as like a legitimate threat of like you do not want to be messing with Beedrills.
yeah. We'll see if its stats reflect that when we come to it, I guess. Yeah, like Beedrill was seen as a very like aggressive territorial Pokemon, I think.
Yeah,
In the same way as like Spearow, which was being the foil for Pidgey, where like Ash catches a Pidgeotto, it's friendly, they get along. Um, Ash antagonizes a Spearow, and now Spearow are like the enemy bird Pokemon,
Yeah.
the aggressive bird Pokemon throughout the entire
Yeah.
first season.
Yeah.
I think it's the same with this line. Like Ash catches a Caterpie, has a really good Butterfree on his team that he connects with and bonds with. And it's heartbreaking when Butterfree has to leave. Ash antagonizes a Weedle, and the Beedrills get mad at him, and then Beedrill is his enemy every time they see him. Like, I mean, I guess it's good that the Pokemon communicate with each other across the region. But yeah, I think it does provide like a good opposite for the version Ash has on his team
Yeah.
and the version that Ash doesn't, or like the
Yeah.
parallel evolutionary lines,
Yeah.
so that you have that comparison between what Pokemon are like in the wild and what Pokemon are like with a trainer, and how um I guess it heightens that sense of a relationship that
Yeah.
Ash has with his Pokemon. And I feel like if they just had a wild Butterfree that was a dick,
Yeah.
it wouldn't have the same effect because, you might get them confused looking at them because they're going to look exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
So having something that can be a parallel, that can act in that way, I think heightens the relationship. So even though Beedrill isn't one that you see having a I mean, I guess when Beedrill is used by his trainer, it does have a bond with that trainer,
Yeah.
but it's not one you see having a bond with a primary trainer very often. Um, I think it does serve a purpose in
Yeah.
heightening the relationships between Ash and his Pokemon.
Yeah. And I think it's got right. Just before we move on, I think one of the things that like Spearow as that I imagine will come up in the Spearow episode when we do that, um, has the Beedrill does not, is that Spearow gets introduced in the games like much later. So I feel like more people have got a connection to Beedrill, even though Beedrill is portrayed as a dick, versus Spearow, who is also portrayed as a dick. But I imagine much less people had it on their team. Um, but the other thing is, I think the other thing that goes against Beedrill in terms of it being, I mean, people really like it. It's got like a mega evolution. Like I know a lot of people who consider
Yeah.
like Beedrill to be cool. In fact, I know someone who Beedrill's like their favorite Pokemon, to the point where for their birthday I gave them like a Beedrill card for like their birthday.
I
Um,
mean, Beedrill's got to be popular if there are Beedrill cards.
Very true, very true. Um, you know,
Is anyone? Oh,
and beyond
I was
the
gonna say,
the
no one's
base
making
set.
Kakuna cards.
Oh, oh, by that I meant the trading card.
Oh, the trading card. I thought you meant like a birthday card with a Beedrill on it.
No, I was like, because this is your favorite Pokemon. Here is one of my Beedrill cards from the card collection.
Ah,
Um,
that's cute.
oh, well, what can I say, mate? But but yeah, so I know that there are a lot of people who are connected to Beedrill, but I think that one of the things that holds against it is somewhat what we were saying before. The kind of basic designs that would have been holding back the first generation of Pokemon also probably factors in on the fact that Beedrill does not have a particularly personable face or an ability to kind of make it sympathetic in some way, in the same way that
Yeah,
like they did with Caterpie.
yeah, because like I guess Caterpie and subsequently Butterfree have like pretty eyes.
Yeah,
Um, and like Beedrill has quite aggressive eyes, and even Kakuna has those like creepy looming out of you from the shadows kind of eyes. Um,
so
yeah,
should we have a look at the dex entry?
yes,
Right.
let's do it.
Just before we go into it, what I wanted to have a look at is how big or small they're making it out to be. Just because you had a run in with some hornets, which I imagine were massive.
Yeah,
Uh,
they were fine. They didn't come close enough to me that I was worried. My friend Dan was very funny, jumping out of the way.
well, I'm glad that no one got attacked by them. But yeah, you can like it doesn't have a mouth. It's got those kind of aggressive eyes. And it says here that it is. Oh, where does it say? It is 1 meter tall, so I imagine that if you came across a 1 meter bee, you would have run even quicker in Italy.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. This is the thing. Like, Beedrill has said, I've seen memes where people are like, "Oh, I really wish Pokemon was real," and someone has replied with, "Well, Beedrill is 3 feet tall, so I don't think you do."
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those things. I mean, I'd love it if it was real, but I feel like ultimately it would be more hassle than it's worth if it was real. And Beedrill is very emblematic of that. So
Yeah.
let's
I feel like if Beedrill was real, I would have to have one to get over my fear of the wild ones.
yeah. I mean, I'm not so sure because I remember back when I was younger, we had like a nest of like wasps that lived in the wall, and that was not a fun time. So I don't know if I'd go. Oh, I'll spend more time with it just based off of my experience.
Yeah.
I mean, the first thing that has jumped out at me in this is the red and blue. Is
Yeah.
it so it flies at high speed, attacks using large venomous stingers on its forelegs and tail, which to me says that occasionally it walks on all 6 legs, and I can't
Maybe.
and I can't recall ever seeing a version of Beedrill where it is walking, because that is how bees walk, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like they don't walk standing upright, do they? Um, so, but maybe that's in it before it's.
I think I've only seen them flying in the show. Like, I've not seen a Beedrill walk. They just kind of hover.
Yeah, yeah, they're normally flying at Ash. Like the main thought that I have of them, and I was considering doing this for the drawing competition, was having it flying in kind of head first, like towards. But because I'd already
Yeah.
done, yeah, because I'd already done a similar thing for the Weedle, I decided against it. Um, but we've got here in yellow. It's 3 poisonous stingers on its forelegs and its tail. They are used to stab its enemy repeatedly. And then I'm interested in Stadium Professor. Flies at high speed, attacks with 3 stingers, one on its rear, one on each of its 2 forelegs, may appear in swarms, which to me sounds like this was a Pokemon that Stadium Professor did not want to fuck with.
Yeah, all the others, it's like, I'm gonna jab you and I'm gonna poke you, I'm gonna spill your guts out.
Yeah,
With Beedrill, it's just like, nope, I'm good. May appear in swarms, flies really fast, has a stinger, I'm out, I'm done, that's it.
like I could imagine just like them looking at the Beedrill in the lab, and there being a bunch of bees like looking in on what he's about to do, and him being like, "I think I'm done with this. I think I'm done. I'll just write it down. May appear in swarms. Off you go."
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's quite happy for it to fuck off in a swarm, and I cannot fault him for that.
yeah. I wouldn't want to
Um,
be messing about with the Beedrill.
Definitely,
No.
definitely not.
I get the feeling, right, even though I've not looked through these, that they're going to get into dick swinging contests soon.
I mean, at gold already, it can take down any opponent with its powerful poison stingers. Can it? Any opponent? A level 10 Beedrill can take down any opponent. Can it now? Because if it could, you're massively overpowered by the time you're out of Viridian Forest.
Well,
And then sometimes attacks in swarms. I feel like if this had been when it attacks in swarms, the combined power of all of these poison attacks can take down any opponent. Because then you've got one Charizard against 100 Beedrills. Fine, the Beedrill's gonna win, but the Charizard is gonna get through like 50 of them before they do. You know?
well, just as long as we know that they can take down. Maybe that was written as a little jab at the Stadium Professor of it. It fucked up Stadium Professor with its
Fucked
powerful
up
poison stinger.
Stadium Presser. Um, Most of it is, oh, I like Crystal. It uses sharp poisonous stings to defeat prey, then takes the victim back to its nest for food. And now I love
Oh,
the idea that, I guess, is that why the Beedrill stole Metapod? Because they wanted to eat it?
yeah. Well, what I'm imagining is so there's an episode of Rick and Morty where they go to a wasp world, You know, they're all anthropomorphic wasps, and there's like a larva on the table, and they're like eating him alive, and he's going, my God, just kill me, as they're just ripping it. So that, but like a mareep.
I like Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, uh, because I think it validates some of the impressions that I got about Beedrill. It said Beedrill is extremely territorial. No one should ever approach its nest for their own safety. If angry, it will attack in a furious swarm. Which I think that is the impression that I get of Beedrill. I think that one best matches so
Mm,
far kind of the overall emotional impact of a Beedrill.
yeah.
But I do like this one particular use of a specific adjective in Fire Red. Flies at violent speeds. Like it's not just fast, it's violently
Mm,
fast, which I really enjoy. Like anything can be fast. Like the things that they're like, yeah, it goes at Mach 5 is not described as violent, but Beedrill, despite not having a miles per hour in its Pokedex entry, is violently fast. Like I love the idea that it's like speeding past and like jabbing at you while it's going. It's just
yeah.
violently fast.
Yeah. Well, I imagine that whoever wrote the stuff about proboscis is going.
Proboscis.
Is going. Yeah, but you know, have you written the word? So, like, imagine that flies at violent speeds in brackets, very quick.
Very quick. Um, I like Diamond and Pearl. It feels like it's really summarized one particular engagement with a Beedrill, and then they didn't wanna engage with it again.
No.
Its best attack involves flying around at high speed, striking with poison needles, then flying off.
Yeah.
Which I guess that's a move set, isn't it? You can have like agility
Mm.
and then pin needle, twin needle, poison sting, any of them. And then
And then flee.
no, what's the one where it comes back to you?
Uh,
The move where it attacks and then returns is a bug type move.
I don't
Fuck.
know. Should, should we get it up dead quick?
I'm finding it. You
Oh,
carry on reading
oh,
things.
go on. I'll get that back up. Okay, so
Uh,
they repeat that in black and white. They must have been very happy
yeah.
with that. It can take down any opponent. We've got that. We've had that. Um, I like the fact
U-turn.
it says the most powerful poison. You know, in comparison to what it's like. Oh, this is the stuff that Cleopatra did herself in with this.
The
This
most powerful
right,
poison.
right. Cleopatra's not very happy. Get the Beedrill poison. Get the carpet, and we'll come back in half an hour. Um, it used to jab its enemy repeatedly.
Yeah.
Beedrill is extremely territorial. No one should ever approach its nest. This I
That's
like
that's
that.
the one from Ruby and Sapphire that I liked. Yeah, yeah. It's
Ah,
repeated. Yeah, I think these are all kind of repeats. Poison Sting on its foreleg, stabs its play repeatedly. Then, oh, actually, let's go Pikachu and Eevee. Oh no, this is Mega Beedrill. I was like, oh, why is this one different? It's
oh,
Mega Beedrill. I like that it says dealing the final blow with the stinger on its rear. So I like that Mega Beedrill has a pattern.
mm,
Um, and then yeah, flying around at high speed, striking with poison needles, flying off. So, um, that's that's Beedrill.
yeah,
What would you give? Oh, should we have a look at Smogon for it?
yeah.
Sorry, even I'm
Let's do it
skipping
dead
ahead
quick.
here.
Let's do it dead
Uh,
quick. Uh, let's change that up. Let's see if we can get right. So it has jumped up massively here.
yeah,
It's still
as you would
untiered.
expect.
Yeah, it's still untiered. Um,
Yeah.
um, but you know, its speed's jumped up to higher than it was as a Weedle. Like basically all of its stats have jumped up, which I think is fantastic. But I'm interested to see what Mega Beedrill has got as well.
I reckon it's gonna be. I feel like. I mean, it's gonna be decent because obviously it's a Mega Evolution. Um, I'm surprised that none of its stats are in the green as regular Beedrill. If all these Pokédex entries bang on how I can defeat any
Mm,
opponent and
yeah,
how everyone's like it's the scary enemy of the show.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Uh,
yeah.
I tell you what, I feel like looking at that now, like I feel like this might be a controversial opinion. I feel like that's a slightly uninspired design for Mega Beedrill.
I mean, it's got extra stings.
Yeah,
But it's just extra stings actually.
yeah. Well, it's got extra
Its
stings.
stats are fucked. They are so much better than regular
Mm.
Beedrill.
I
Um,
mean, this. I mean, the speed is 3 times what it was as a Weedle.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
and
yeah.
the attack is so high as well. I feel like that's a high. I mean, I feel like when we were looking at the previous episodes, but this is like the first one that I've been like, wow, the stats on that are like, you know,
Mm.
pretty good. And maybe it's because we've seen how crap they were in the beginning, where like again we didn't do it at the time, but I feel like if you were to compare the stats of a Weedle versus the stats of a Squirtle, you're gonna like there's gonna be like a much higher disparity. Um, but yeah, like I mean, I feel like it's Stinger almost looks like a bit of a rip off of a what are they called now? A Vesper Queen. Um,
Okay.
because it's got the kind of like ridges in it that Vesper Queen's got. Um,
I get that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's like pointed out instead of branching out like a skirt.
yeah, uh,
I get that.
yeah,
I would like to see. I think it'd be cute. I'd like to see um in our little B episode that we came up with.
yeah,
I would like to see like the Beedrill like rallying together to protect the Vespiquen because the combi is so useless and like one of them mega evolving to make sure the Vespiquen is okay so they still have plenty of honey to go around.
yeah,
And then all of the people characters can be like, that's why they were attacking us. They were just protecting Vespiquen. We'll let them know that we're not here to hurt her. And then like Brock comes in or whoever's going to be the healer in the
mm,
new season comes in with like a healing berry for the ill Vespiquen that all the bees are worried about.
uh-huh. And
That would be how why am I not a writer on Pokemon? This is just
Satoshi
why.
Tajiri, get in touch with us. Why are you not getting in touch with us? We've got so many ideas that we could, like that episode of The Simpsons. Have no fears, we've got stories for years. Um,
Eh.
but yeah, I do. I feel like maybe it's because of how simple Beedrill's kind of design is because of the limitations. I don't know. I'm a
Hmm.
tiny bit unimpressed by.
Yeah, I don't think that's how I would have done Mega Beedrill because I think original Beedrill was kind of like it was simple but effective.
Yeah,
And I think I agree. I think making the stinger on the bottom, I think I would have made it like more streamlined
yeah,
if they're leaning into speed.
yeah,
Because here it looks kind of heavier and clunkier.
yeah,
Um, I think maybe I would have given instead of giving it more black stripes, given it like a black body with yellow highlights,
yeah,
so it looks more like it's yellow is like a go faster stripe,
yeah.
you know?
That's fair.
And then I think I wouldn't have added additional stingers to the legs. I think I would have but made the tail stinger
Yeah,
longer so that it looked faster and sharper.
yeah,
Because I think I quite like the idea they've got going with the original stingers getting longer because I think
yeah.
they kind of look like jousting
I
lances,
was gonna say
and I
that.
think that actually really works.
Yeah,
But I think because they're trying to now make them bigger than the other stingers, they've made them look a bit heavy and slow.
yeah,
Um, and for a Pokemon with that high speed, I think I would have made the tail longer and thinner
yeah,
and the lances longer and thinner
yeah,
and then made it look just more streamlined
yeah,
um and faster and just made it longer rather than fatter.
Yeah,
which is the first time I've ever said I want the Pokemon to be less fat.
yeah,
I
this,
love a fat Pokemon.
yeah,
But I don't think that Mega Beedrill looks threatening because it's got broader. It looks like it's almost more of a honeybee, which is the least threatening bee.
yeah,
I would make it like sleek and black like a hornet.
yeah. You don't want it to be a bumblebee drill, do you? Um,
Mm.
but yeah, I think for me, my main issue is the legs. I think the hind legs having the stingers as well almost make it look a tiny bit too much. What I'd have gone with is and I like the bigger antennas, and I like yourself. I
Yeah, I like the bigger antennas, and I think the eyes look more threatening as well because they're
Yeah,
a bit narrower.
yeah, I like that. And I
They look
like
angrier.
the kind of the longer arms that look like jousting. But what I would have done in terms of Mega Beedrill, I would have actually, going off of the lore that we've just read there, I'd have gone for like a Magneton type situation where I would have gotten a few of
Ooh.
them, so it's like this is like a swarm at this point.
Yeah. Like when with all of them talking about like swarms, um, I feel like I really again we're gonna get to this when we get to the later generations, but I think that Pokemon like Wishy-Washy, the fish, the little fish that becomes a massive
Yeah,
fish, I think that's a really cool concept.
yeah,
But also like in the game, in the lore, it's like lots of them get together and become one big fish. But in the game, you catch one and then you've got enough for it to be a big fish.
yeah,
And I don't know if that translates very well to the games. And I guess the closest parallel you have here, but because it's not a game mechanic, it's not too bad.
mm,
But the closest parallel you have here are like Beedrill being in swarms and Tauros being in herds.
yeah,
So I think if they had found a way for that to be incorporated into the game, that would be really cool. And
mm,
if it's just like the way that Beedrill like buzzes, like when it does a dance and it buzzes and it summons whatever other Beedrill
yeah.
nearby, and